received from the Chiefs and their particular draft picks. Joel Penfield at noon, Mick Schaefer 1 o'clock, Learn Funniest Best at 1:25. It's a Monday edition of The Zone. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Jack Johnson hanging out with us as we head up until 2 o'clock. So let's talk about the draft and the Kansas City Chiefs. Michael, I want to start with you. Pittsburgh, what was Thursday like? Friday for you? How'd you enjoy being back in the green room and actually covering the draft and not just being there fanning it up?
It was definitely a great experience. It was always fun to see different media outlets react to the Chiefs pick. And there was a lot of oohing and awing, and I think everybody, including myself, thought when they trade up from 9 to 6, it's to go get Ruben Bain. And when it ended up being Mansour Delane, there was a little bit of shock on my face. I was like, well, I don't think it's a bad pick, but it just wasn't what I was expecting. But, it was a zoo in Pittsburgh. But Friday was interesting as well because the Chiefs did trade up in the first round to get Mansour Delane, and so they only had one pick on Friday. And so we were kind of waiting to see if the Chiefs would trade back into the third round. They ended up not doing that, and I think the compensation that they would have had to give up to move up would have been very steep. But the Chiefs came away with an edge rusher at 40. They came away with a defensive tackle at 29. I think the theme of this draft was defense, and that's what they went out and they got.
The way that I viewed this draft is the defense, if we view it from defense and offense, if we view it from two different perspectives. One, I do love some of the reaction after the draft when people are saying, okay, who won, who lost, what do we think? There was one tweet, I think it was, Warren Nolan or Nolan Warren, whatever, I follow him. I can't remember. Warren's either first or last name.
Warren Zevon.
That's exactly right. Yes, Warren. My name isn't Warren. Stop calling me Warren.
Warren Sapp?
No, it's not Warren Sapp. It's a media member, but it doesn't matter. It does probably for him. Warren Sharp. Close. I think Warren Sharp put out a tweet and said, hey, what do we think of? And then he put each individual team in the tweets, and one of them was, what do we think of the Chiefs draft? And I really thought it was interesting. One of the first responses, and these are just general fans, but it goes to show what the groupthink was heading into the draft, nationally as opposed to locally. One of the first responses was, can't take them seriously, they didn't get any offensive line help. And so I just laughed because that was the common narrative going in. And Brett Veach literally laughed when he said, I just let people think that we were going for offensive line in the first round. And that's what happens when you have so many national sort of narratives that are being pushed about the Chiefs' offensive line. They need help at offensive line. This became a running theme that then it just got regurgitated in the draft process. And I think that happens with other athletes as well in draft picks. It's this guy starts to say this about this guy, somebody else says that, and then you hear that from a couple of different places, and then that becomes fact in your mind. This is this guy. It's not going to work. It is going to work. This is a first-round grade. He went in the third round. What a steal. This is a day 3 guy. You took him in the second round. You're a boob. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. Fire that GM. And the entire draft process leading up to it, draft season, was offensive line. Chiefs need tackle and offense. They may trade as recently as a week ago today. As recently as 1 week ago, Todd McShay was saying trade up to 3 to get an offensive tackle. That Andy Reid is, quote, hell-bent on fixing the offensive line. And this became this national narrative. And so some of the responses and reactions from the draft is really surprised they did not address offensive line. Now, it's not just one random fan, because I looked yesterday, and I think there's some value in terms of what do the draft grades think? What do people think early on? There's a grain of salt. People can hate them, can like them. Doesn't matter. If everybody gives you an A+, you like them. If somebody gives you a D or an F or whatever, failing grade, or C-, and you thought it was good, well, they're idiots anyway. So it's sort of a grain. PFF. If it works in your favor, you love it. If it doesn't, it's just a data point. It's just one particular thing. But one of my takeaways is how much the Chiefs allowed the narrative to get out there and did not care about offensive line. They need offensive line help. If they can fix this offensive line, how far can they go? But my overall takeaway, Sterling and Jack, is on the defensive side and offensive side, this was a front office and a coaching staff to me that was saying defense needs to be replenished and the offensive improvement comes from recalibrating. Do you need running back, an offensive line? You got to get tight end. You got to get wide receiver. The offense was the reason last year that they were struggling. You've got to get more playmakers. You got to add to the offense. We were talking about Jordan Tyson at pick number 9, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, Denzel Washington, Sterling. That's who you wanted them to take.
I did. He can play a lot of roles.
Absolutely. And wide receiver, tight ends. It's a deep tight end draft. You got to go get a tight end. Can you find the replacement for Travis Kelce? Do you trade back and get Kenyon Sadiq? We were talking about different playmakers offensively because offense is what really struggled last year. And we talked about one of the reasons why we feel like the offense struggled was, yes, at times there were offensive line issues with injuries, with Jawan Taylor and also Josh Simmons going out. They had no dynamism at running back, and they didn't really have a scheme that wanted to invest all that much in running the football. The Chiefs front office, Sterling, and the coaching staff to me said defense is lacking the talent and the players with the guys that left. You need to replenish that. Offense, the improvements are going to come from recalibrating the scheme and fixing it that way, along with adding a running back and a wide receiver.
And that's what I said all of last year. All of last year, I said it's a scheme situation. It's the same scheme since 2022. It's outdated, it's antiquated, and that's exactly what the Chiefs showed us and told us during the draft. Because they, even in the offseason, said, we're firing the wide receiver coach. We're moving on from Matt Nagy. We think this is a coaching issue. We think we got the players.
Running back coach, wide receiver coach,
yeah, I mean,
offensive coordinator.
Outside of running back. Outside of running back, they said, we have the guys.
Yeah,
we have the players. We were wrong. This could also be Andy saying, no, this was on me. This is me. I thought I wasn't going to overhaul everything because we went to a Super Bowl, third straight one. Mm-hmm. We're going into a new year. We still made it to a Super Bowl. I don't want to overhaul the entire game plan. And then you go 6-11. So now you're forced to. And so Andy is sitting here going, no, I think that this is on me. It's my fault, guys. We have the guys. I just need to adjust. And so that's why I think they are going to adjust, because I think there is a realization of that. And this draft, I think, alludes to that as well. I always go and laugh a little bit when people say, well, give Holmes a weapon. It'll make life easier. I go, what else makes life easier is when you're not having to score 40 points a game to win, which we saw early on in his career when they weren't winning Super Bowls. Tom Brady and the Patriots did this forever. They said, hey, Tom, they gave him Randy Moss for like a year and a half. Yes, they had Gronkowski, and Travis Kelce is the Gronkowski for Mahomes. He can elevate wide receivers. You can't elevate the defense. And so the Patriots did that method. Chiefs are doing this as well. I think it's the right way of going about it. It's why I think the Bengals, for example, have been doing it all wrong for years. Yeah, it's great. Give Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. What happens? How many rings do you have? None. It's why I think the Bills have been better than the Bengals traditionally, because they focus on defense more so. I like the draft overall. It is hilarious because we talk about it and go, is it good? Is it bad? We've never seen these guys play, and we're all judging off of a arbitrary board of values that we've given from the same people that think the Chiefs should have focused on tackle, right? That's what we're basically doing right now. So it is a little bit of a hypothetical, hilarious thing we do, but it's fun, so we're going to do it.
That's a good point about, what does this person think, while a week ago they thought, you got to go tackle an offensive line for the Chiefs.
Yeah, you always got to take something, or take a grain of salt with a draft pick, because it is a big jump going from Division I football to the NFL. Most of these guys are either going to be rotational players. Some might turn into those all-pro type of talents, and you're hoping that the first-round selections the Chiefs made, and probably the first couple of selections they made, will be impact players as early as year one. But you never know. There's been multiple picks the Chiefs have taken before that were raved about by the media, and I cannot believe they let this guy get to the Chiefs on day 3, and they end up being a practice squad guy, or they can't even get on the field. But I do think overall, the game plan the Chiefs had to get younger, get more affordable on defense, I like the logic for it. I mean, they didn't always take the guys I was expecting them to. I did not envision them taking Delane over Reuben Bain. I didn't envision them taking R. Mason Thomas. I thought that would be a Zion Young pick, or a Cassius Howell, being the local kid that he was. But it went against the grain a little bit. I mean, Spags usually doesn't like those smaller-bodied speed rushers. that's what you got with a guy like him. And maybe that was admitting we need to get a little bit, I guess, a little bit different. We need to have an open mind. We need to be innovative of how we're going to improve this defense. And the guys they brought in, some of them are Spags guys, some of them are not. But when you look at the offensive side of the ball, really, I think we might be understating how big of an impact Kenneth Walker will make for the rest of the group here. I mean, the wide receiver room, it's not good. Adding Cyrus Allen, I think it's exciting, but again, we don't know. This is a guy who's never played an NFL snap before. But there was a lot of oddities that happened last year when you look at Rashee Rice. He had the suspension, right? So he doesn't play for 6 games. And, you usually want to have training camp going into preseason, into regular season to feel comfortable. Xavier Worthy, he gets blown up on the first series of the year by Travis Kelce, and I'm sure that was something that impacted him the rest of the way. So maybe Andy Reid, Brett Veach, Eric Bieniemy, they're going, look, these guys still are good. Last year was so catastrophic on so many levels that it made a lot of people overreact to how bad the situation was. Again, I'm not saying the wide receiver room is fine and they're going to be great. There's going to be an 1,000-yard receiver in that group, but it might have been over-dramatized a bit for how bad it was when you take some of these things into account. Now, Rashee Rice has to stay out of trouble. He's got to be healthy. Same goes for Xavier Worthy. And the running back room, which I did think got a lot better. That was probably the most improved group. They had to be productive as well. But maybe that's why they said, look, the issue here is talent on the defense. It's not so much talent on the offensive side of the ball.
The overall view for me, as we talked about, defense and offense, I really like the draft, but we'll see what it turns out to be, what it looks like. I mean, there have been some times where you really like a draft pick and that guy didn't materialize, or a draft pick that you're like, I'm not really too excited about, and that guy turns out to be really good. Like, you never know with those things. I was less enthused on Thursday night. We talked about this on Friday, that when they traded up, I was hoping they would get pass rusher. I was hoping they would get edge. Clearly, the rest of the league also viewed Ruben Bain as a non-top 10 talent.
It's still a mid-round first round.
Number
still,
15.
Still 15. It's not like...
But certainly not trading up to 6 to go get Ruben Bain.
Sure.
You very obviously could have stayed there at 9 and drafted him, and that's one that we'll probably compare. If Delane is just a good cornerback and Ruben Bain turns out to be, one of the better pass rushers in the league, then yeah, we're going to view that and say that was a pretty decent mistake by the Chiefs.
And Bain and whoever was available at 74.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
I think that has to be at least. And again, this is not a delay.
Ted Hurst was available at 74.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, a guy that we've talked about on the show a little bit that I liked. He went like 81 or 84, something like that.
Yeah.
So if they were also looking wide receiver, Ted Hurst was there. But it's something that we will follow and we'll keep track of. But like, as the draft is finished and we can see the overall plan, and if it was the plan going in or that's how the board fell, whatever which way, you slice it, look at it. I was less enthused on Thursday night because I wanted them to get an edge rusher. But now looking at the entirety of the draft, you address so many areas of need with also players that I did like, players that we talked about a number of times on the show, so that does color the opinion a little bit. We talked about Peter Woods. We talked about not yours or mine, but our Mason Thomas. We discussed him. In
Republican
fact,
Mason Thomas. I wonder
right,
did Democrat,
why don't
independent Mason Thomas.
Is there
drafted?
an R or D next to like Mansour Delane? And are we at that point in our lives to where now we have to declare what party we are affiliated with when they're drafting? With the 40th pick in the NFL draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Republican Mason Thomas, edge, Oklahoma.
Every time it makes sacks great again.
right.
Is that what you're going to say? Just
It's not even an apostrophe, and it doesn't stand for anything.
No, it's just R.
Well,
is his
it's
first
cool.
name.
Apparently, it was along the lines of his mom wanted to keep up the tradition of R names like Richard or Robert.
She couldn't think of an actual name.
And
She
just wanted to
said
go
R.
with R. Mason Thomas. I'm like, it's kind of badass.
What if you have another kid that's we're just keeping with only R's? It's J, and J in our family. So
I think it's kind of cool.
If he's good, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's the thing.
If that
100%.
is not going to be fun.
Yeah, because it's not yours or mine. He's ours. With the pick 109 in the 4th round, the Kansas City Chiefs select dual citizen Jadon Canada, E. From Oregon, sorry.
What's funny about
Whatever.
the draft is the positions don't always make sense, especially in the order. But I like almost all the players. And again, when I say value, it's funny to say it where we're at now. We're basing it all off of what the draft boards were.
Yeah.
But like even Garrett Nussmeier in the 7th round, I'm like, that's really good value.
Well, yeah, because going into last year,
He was like a top 10 pick.
he was like one of the top quarterbacks available. They got Peter Woods, that was like the consensus #1 overall player going into the draft.
Emmett Johnson put up numbers
Right.
at Nebraska.
Absolutely.
Cyrus Allen had 13 touchdowns last year. I mean, like you just look around and you're like, there's value even if I don't understand some of the process.
The Cyrus Allen, I am going to temper my enthusiasm for one main reason, and that is because I was pretty pumped that they got Jalen Royals in the 4th round last year.
Yeah.
And watching Cyrus Allen and knowing going into it, he was one of the guys that people were scratching their head as to how this guy didn't get a combine invite. This guy was so good in the All-Star games. He's one of the best route runners, one of the best separators. Then you see the highlights of his route running, and you're going, good God. Have the Chiefs had a guy like that that just understands the small little nuances of route running and making some of these dudes at the Senior Bowl, East-West Shrine, whatever All-Star game he was involved, just making him look kind of dumb in trying to guard him with the specific routes that he's running. And it's like, wow, I haven't seen a Chiefs player do that. It's like Rashee Rice, really good feel for the zone. Xavier Worthy, he's going to run by you. Good route runner, but he's going to run by you. He can run all of the routes, but we know it's going to be over routes, mesh, things like that. Cyrus Allen, it's like, oh, one of the best route runners in the entire draft. So I'm tempering my enthusiasm because I was pretty excited about Jalen Royals last year. But let's play clip number 1, Michael, if we can. This was on Friday. This was the last probably minute and a half of the show as we were trying to figure out and guess who the Chiefs were going to draft, who we wanted them to draft. This is the end of the show on Friday. Let's take a listen. If you have Gelati that is a better run stopper on 1st and 2nd down, you need pass rushers, Zion and TJ Parker. Those guys are more run than rush the passer. Run stoppers, 3-down linemen.
I don't like this team, but this guy wrecked the SEC this year. R. Mason Thomas. Chiefs landed him. I think that could be a guy.
Yep. I said Howell or R. Mason Thomas, but I'm going to go with R. Mason Thomas.
Would be R. Mason Thomas if he came to KC, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Sterling, for that.
Yeah.
Dynamite drop in there. So credit to Mick and me.
Yeah,
And you with the little drop, with the funny little drop in there.
I was the comedic effect that wasn't very funny. I was the Zion Young or what was it or
With
what-
TJ Parker,
no,
Zion, or
someone wrote on that sticky note. I don't know.
yeah, it was Zion no matter
what.
what. Zion no matter what. Now I will also, for full transparency, we all joked that we were going to pick Zion, and I said, well, I don't want to go with everybody else. So, but my reasoning was they need somebody who just simply can rush the passer. I don't care if he's a 3-down lineman or not. Give me pass rush. And what worried me about Zion and TJ is, as I said, they're more 3-down linemen, really good against the run, but they have some pass rush ability, but that's the part that has to be improved upon, and they have to, get better at that particular part of their game, whereas R. Mason Thomas, Cassius Howell, they're not necessarily 3-down defensive ends, but they offer speed and burst, and I don't know the last time that wasn't a blitz that the Chiefs simply had somebody that won quickly. It's like beat the tackle, boom, plays over, not named Chris Jones.
So you are 100% correct. And Jack, Michael, Jason, the reason why I didn't even consider R. Mason Thomas, he's not a Chief style of player. He's not a Spags style player. Mm-hmm. His comp has been D Ford.
Yeah.
That without the offsides, hopefully. But D Ford was a really good player. But that was also when they ran more of that 3-4.
Yeah.
And so I just thought to myself, I go, well, I can't really put him on the board because he's not what Spags goes for.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, Zion Young, one, I like the player, but two, he fits the scheme of Spags very well. And so that's why that was the guy for me. I'm glad they got our Mason Thomas, but I also wonder, will Spags use him? Because is this Veach saying, hey, I don't care what you think. We're tired of not getting sacks. I know you've had a solid defense. You're a Hall of Fame DC, but I'm getting a guy with some juice. Or with Spags saying, hey, I do want to adjust a little bit here. I'm tired of the Charles and Minahu. Yeah, I have all the measurables.
Yeah, the position flexibility. He's versatile. We can slide him inside. We can go outside. How about just like, third down, let's just put this guy against the tackle, and especially if it's a slow-footed tackle. How about against, I don't know, the Bengals?
Orlando Brown Jr., yeah.
Right. Bengals, rushing from the right side against the left tackle and just speed around the outside. That'd be fun. Let's listen to Mike Bradway, assistant GM, and he was asked about this guy isn't necessarily a Spags prototype player. Why was he the pick when we haven't seen somebody that fits this particular measurable drafted by the Chiefs?
I think just the way he plays. I think he's tough. I think he plays the run. He doesn't run around blocks. He's not afraid to get in a 6 technique and play double team. So he's not just the guy that's going to just seek sacks. So I think the way he plays the game, I think the character piece obviously matters too. I think that he is a all-out, relentless, high-motor kid that I know he's not prototype. It's not typically what Spags is. These guys have played for Spags, but I think the combination of his skill and the character make you feel good about it.
Several years ago, Mike, you brought in Josh Uche. It was kind of a similar size and everything.
Yep.
Anything learned from that experience?
I think it makes it a little easier when you get him now, where it's mid-season. It's a little tricky just to fit guys in, and we're so caught up in season. So I think now getting him where we got him, having a full off season, getting him into the defense, you have time. So I think that is probably the biggest difference.
Is there any convincing with Spags, knowing that there's a type that he likes, or is he always on?
No, he was actually all in with this kid. I think I forgot to mention we had DeMarco Murray on staff who was at Oklahoma, and that was with him. So. And DeMarco's been great, and he raves about the kid. So having a coach that was with him every single day and put his stamp on him, it made Spags much more confident. So
on Blaine, you said he popped for you guys at the Tech.
My bad. I didn't cut that last part. That's my fault. But as far as the end, when you're talking about Steve Spagnuolo and the Joshua Uche sort of comparison. Now, we'll see they brought over Uche mid-season, so it was tougher for him to get acclimated or tougher for Spags to know what he can or can't do. And, he goes with guys that he trusts out on the field. If he knows what you can't do, he may be more willing to play you rather than, okay, this guy can do this. I know that, but if I put him in this position, he can't do that. Well, then now we're kind of SOL on that particular play. Uche went from getting some playing time to then being a healthy scratch, week after week. So the difference of our Mason Thomas as opposed to Uche, well, at least from Mike Bradway, is saying, well, you got a lot more time here. I don't know if actually, or the word specifically actually, is just one of those that you randomly throw into a sentence, or if there's something more there. When Todd said, do you have to get Steve Spagnuolo to sign off? And he goes, no, actually, Steve was on board with this one. As in, we were surprised too. No, he actually liked this guy. That was a shocker to everybody there. Spags, what do you think of this guy? I know that, no, I like him. Look, I get it. He's not the typically, no, I'm on board. All right, I understand, but he's not, what's that? Hold on, you like this guy? Well, okay, so what do you like about him then? Okay, all right, so let's talk about this. Or if it's just one of those, no, actually he was on board. He liked him. And there was no convincing for Steve Spagnuolo for our Mason Thomas. Now, would there have been convincing for Cassius Howell, who's maybe a little bit smaller? I don't know. But they clearly went with this guy over Cassius Howell, over Zion Young, not over T.J. Parker, because he went before the Chiefs had an opportunity to select him at pick 40. Maybe it would have been T.J. Parker. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I like the prospect of having a guy, Jack, that's specifically going to rush the passer, and at least we hear, no, Spags is on board. Okay, well, if Spags is on board, then I want to see that Spags puts him out there to rush the passer, and not Spags is on board, but we're going to find reasons to not play him because he doesn't really match what Spags wants to do, and there's another disconnect between the front office and the coaching staff.
Look, we know Spags loves to blitz. He loves to dial them up at the right times, but a way that you can disguise it even better is if you're not having to blitz on every single third down, right? Where a team knows that they're about to bring the heat, and they can either have the quick check down, they can have the underneath route. I mean, we saw last year that it just wasn't as effective, and I think in large part that was due to the fact they did not have an edge rusher that really posed as much of a threat. And when they did get a sack, how often was it where they blew around a tackle or they just blew somebody up? It was Karlaftis having the motor, or Zomenihu probably being able to get on the inside after Jones blew up somebody. You know, I'm not trying to say that R. Mason Thomas or Peter Woods are going to come in week one, they're game wreckers. But this idea of having somebody on the outside that, yes, has a smaller stature, but can be a difficult matchup for a slower tackle, right? When you've got somebody that can line up a little bit differently, can speed around you and get to the quarterback. That's what the Chiefs desperately needed. I wonder if they thought it might have been that way with Felix Enrique-Uzama because he was a smaller bodied edge rusher, but he also wasn't a speed rusher. Like, he lined up the exact same way at K-State every single year. You see a little bit of a hybrid when you look at the highlights of R. Mason Thomas at Oklahoma. Also, one of my favorite picks the last couple of years, Nick Benito, was at Oklahoma. I'm not trying to say he's going to be the same exact guy, but I like the ideology of let's see if we can find our own Nick Benito, because you're not going to be able to afford one of those guys in free agency.
Yeah, sometimes you get some right, sometimes you get some wrong. I was hoping the Chiefs would draft Nick Benito. We talked about it leading up to it. I'm like, they won't because he's not a Spags guy, but they need somebody who can specifically and strictly rush the passer. Please go and find somebody like that. They took Brian Cook. It was still a great 2022 draft. All right,
so
there's
awesome, yeah.
nothing like, well, you missed on that guy, you suck, Veach. But I would have liked Nick Benito to be the player that they took there. They didn't, but maybe they're learning from that and saying, well, let's not just ignore somebody that can get after the passer because he doesn't have the prototypical 3-down lineman. You know what? At pick 40, you're probably not getting Myles Garrett. In fact, you're not. So how do you build in the aggregate? We got Tonga and Peter Woods. We've just built Chris Jones. We've got Ashton Gelati and R. Mason Thomas. Okay, we've built a 3-down lineman with those guys. Stopping the run, get after the passer. Great. You built it in the aggregate with a 3rd-rounder and a 2nd-rounder the last 2 years. Go that route. Perfectly fine. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
FanDuel is serving up a happy hour every day during the playoffs. Don't even need a drink for this happy hour, baby. We're talking special drops you do not want to miss, from profit boosts to bonus bets and more. And the best part, it's every single day. I love doing this during the NBA playoffs. This is my favorite thing to do. I wake up, see what's rolling on FanDuel, and put some things in. Every day, FanDuel, every day, right there on the app, playoffs, you have these incredible offers coming your way. I did some last night. Helped me out with my Joel Embiid. He came back, I think it was 22.5 plus points. Easy money. Thank you, Joel. Even though the Sixers let me down again. At least the jerseys look good, though. They have the old school AI jerseys. So, whether you're betting the early game or gearing up for prime time, make sure you open the FanDuel app and see what's waiting for you today. Cook up something fun. 3 games on the slate today. So head to FanDuel.com/local to get started.
21 plus and present in Missouri. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirements, and max wager amount. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
We continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Jack Johnson, Michael Darcy as we head up until 2 o'clock. We're talking about the draft, the 7 selections that the Chiefs made. They trade up to go and get Emmett Johnson. By the way, I haven't made the mistake yet, but I have almost called him Emmett Thomas about 4 times.
Same.
So, but I haven't done it yet. If I do it, I am preemptively apologizing. I know his name. It's just Emmett Thomas is such a great name around here in Chiefs history. So, Emmett Johnson, because as I say Emmett and get to the last name, I immediately start to question myself and go, Emmett, is it Johnson? No, it's Thomas. No, it's not Thomas because Emmett Thomas. So it's Emmett Johnson. That's all in my mind between Emmett and Johnson.
Correct. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
So anyway,
and they also drafted R. Mason Thomas.
So anyway, they draft Emmett Thomas from Nebraska. I'm joking. I'm kidding. They get Emmett Johnson from Nebraska. They get Cyrus Allen from Cincinnati. Jadon Kennedy that they got from Oregon. And so as I look at and Kennedy first, and then Johnson, Allen, and then Nussmeier, we'll see what that is, what that ends up being. I'm actually fine with the Nussmeier pick.
Especially 7th round. I mean, like I'm beyond.
We'll talk about what that may mean. But what gets me excited about the draft, what gets me to where I'm the full view of it, is they attacked the secondary with the selection of Mansour Delane, and now you've got Noel Williams on the outside. It moves Christian Fulton to the 3rd outside corner. And then Jadon Kennedy and Kader Kohu. I know that Kohu was not a draft pick, but he was a more than serviceable nickel corner slot before he got injured. And if he returns to form, that's an if, but if he returns to form, he's one of the guys that I wanted the Chiefs to sign in free agency. I thought you would get some value on an injured player, and it's a low-risk, high-reward pick signing that now, to me, you've got a couple of guys, including CRW, and Roland Wallace, Kennedy, and Kohu, that can figure out who's going to be playing the nickel/slot, and you just got better at 2 positions because now it allows Shamari Connor to get the hell out of the slot.
I was going to
go play anywhere
all
else.
Those guys, yes. On paper,
I don't
yes.
care.
3 different guys you can play the slot, and it's going to be Shamari Connor.
And go anywhere. I don't care if he plays running back. Just as long as he's not the slot corner for this Chiefs team, it makes him better when he can play as more of a free roamer near the line of scrimmage. That's when McDuffie was on the interior and Snead was on the outside with Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams, and they were rotating those guys. And Connor was allowed to just be sort of a ball hawk and they also had Reed and Brian Cook then too, so they would use them different ways. And now you've got Hicks and Alohi Gilman.
Yeah.
And then maybe Connor can be used different ways, or Gilman can be used different ways, or Hicks can play the role that Connor played when they had Snead and Watson and McDuffie playing the slot. They had to address, in my mind, I wanted them to go out and sign a slot corner. That's what we were talking about. Get a slot corner, sign a slot corner, and then if you've got Fulton and Noel Williams, I'm fine with that because it makes you better at 2 different spots. Kennedy, Kohu, CRW, one of those guys has to be the slot corner. If it is Shamari Connor, something happened to where they're going with probably the 4th out of 4 choices.
Yeah.
To play that spot.
And this is where I have some frustrations, is because it's not necessarily Shamari's fault. It's not his fault. This is just what we're talking about.
It's like Giancarlo Stanton. It's not his fault. He can't guard the slot. He's got a big bullseye. He's in the crosshairs.
But he's good at specific things. I think Shamari Connor is actually a good NFL player.
He's gotten better at tackling.
But they keep putting him in spots where he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not his role. We know what he's good at and what he's not good at. And they keep putting him in spots where we know he's not good. Now, part of it was also CRW got injured last year. Was a little bit of a different situation.
Yeah.
So I do understand some of the nuances there. But this year, you're right. That can't be the case. He cannot be the slot corner because, again, he is a pretty solid safety overall. I do find it interesting because we talk about when there's a hole on the team that Veach likes to sometimes almost overfill. Slot was an issue last year. So
Aggressive overcorrection.
So what do you do? CRW, Cater Kohu, now Jadon Kennedy. At running back, such an issue. We're going to get Kenneth Walker, and we're also going to draft a guy who had an obscene season at Nebraska in the 5th round.
We're going to trade up for him.
We're going to trade up for him, right? Defensive tackle was so bad, so we're going to sign Kyrus Tonga. We had Omar Noman Lot last year. He's coming off an injury, but we're still going to get Peter Woods at 29. Now, he didn't quite do that at edge this year, but that's 3 different positions where he sunk not just one guy, but a lot of either draft capital or free agent capital into a position.
Well, and I think that's the defense overall and that's why I called it the draft to me is defense replenish, offense recalibrate. The scheme, running the ball, maybe some different running / scheme, maybe some gap duo instead of just zone constantly, fewer RPOs, more under center, and now if you've got a dynamism to your backfield with Kenneth Walker, Emmett Johnson, and Emery DeMarcado, you've got those 3 guys as opposed to Pacheco, Hunt, and Brashard Smith. Like, dude, that's night and day difference in just handing the ball off and letting those guys assess, find the open spot, and go and attack, as opposed to running right into a defender and then jumping up really fast and flexing. Nothing against Pacheco. He served a role as a 7th-round running back, okay? But now they've invested money in Walker and a 5th-rounder in Emmett Johnson, but I don't know many people that thought Emmett Johnson was a 5th-rounder. Like, this was one of those to where Emmett Johnson goes off the board. I think, multiple people had Emmett Johnson as, like, their number 2 running back.
Yeah.
And he was the 6th running back taken.
It's like when you do this draft, but you're not doing it on the...
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, he hasn't been taken yet? I would have had him in the 2nd round. What are we doing?
Yeah, right. And so clearly the Chiefs got a steal because Emmett Johnson was there in the 5th round, even though the entire league is saying they thought Emmett Johnson was a 5th rounder.
They forgot about it. They thought it was up the border, right?
That's right. Emmett Johnson, I thought didn't he go in the 2nd round? That's weird. It was Emmett Thomas that went in the 2nd round. I got myself. But I love the more holistic approach on defense. Adding the slot jack gets Shamari Connor the heck out of there, or better, get him the heck out of there. Adding Delane means that Christian Fulton can slide back to be the 3rd corner with Noel Williams. You also have some, injury depth with that if one of those guys ends up going down. You've addressed the defensive tackle with a run stopper and a 3 technique. You've addressed defensive end. Your biggest issue at defensive end was rushing the passer. You addressed that. The defensive side, I'm pretty excited about what they were able to accomplish, and I do wonder what will happen now, because today is the last day of free agent signings counting towards the compensation formula. So I think starting either later today or tomorrow is when we may, especially after the draft, is when we may see some of those veteran guys being signed. Maybe a Juwan Jennings gets signed somewhere.
Yeah.
Your guy, the defensive end that you want them to sign.
Oh, Cam Jordan.
Cam Jordan. He gets signed somewhere, or he waits till training camp to sign. Could be the case. But to me, when I look at the overall draft, Jack, they covered a number of different spots, and the secondary, to me, potentially is better than what it was last year when they had McDuffie and Watson. Potentially.
Yeah, I love the way they've kind of reshaped the secondary a bit. You bring in Gilman, of course, to kind of help you out in the secondary, bring more of a veteran presence. Of course, you get your blue chip guy in Delane, but also we were so high on Noel Williams to end the year. I mean, that can be a group that, historically under Steve Spagnuolo gets really, really good toward the end of the year. There might be some hiccups early on just because you have some really young guys that are playing in their first NFL games or maybe playing as a true starter for the first time. But long term, this can be a lockdown secondary. I really like the upside of what they have. And then you go to the defensive line. You say they can make those guys' jobs a hell of a lot easier if you've got a little bit more of a pass rush. And overall with this draft, I think it's also this understanding of you have to win differently now. And I think we've discussed this before where the Chiefs have had right now 2 separate parts of their dynasty, where the first one they won a Super Bowl with this explosive offense, the one that could go out there and lead the league in scoring. They were passing all over people. Mahomes is winning MVP after MVP. Then they kind of transition into more of the, we're not going to overpay for some of these guys. We're going to reshape the wide receiver room, going to win with more of our defense, but they still were very good, and they still were productive offensively. Now I think we're in that third version of it where it might be a little bit more of let's try to beat teams with our defense, but also have a pretty threatening run game. I mean, I love the fact that we've seen Brett Veach do this before with the offensive line, the defensive line. You look at how bad a group was, and you completely wipe it off the face of the earth. I don't think there's going to be a single running back from last year's team that took a snap that will be on the active roster in week 1. I think they'll keep 3 running backs when it's Kenneth Walker, Emmett Johnson, and then Amari DiMercado. He could always be the, I'm already blanking on who it was last year. Who was
Rashard Smith.
Not Rashard Smith, Elijah
Mitchell.
Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
He could be that version of the guy, just a healthy scratch. But I see it being the opposite way, where you bring in 3 new guys to really help with the run game, which therefore will help the passing game, help Patrick Mahomes, and you win that way. I went back the last couple of years. The last time they led the league in scoring was 2022. They were averaging about 115 yards on the ground per game. 2023, they still were somewhat productive in the run game, but the last 2 years, they've been averaging just over 100 yards per game offensively, and they were in the bottom half of the league in scoring. I really believe it was that focus of let's get a defense that can hold teams under 21-ish points a game, and let's have a team that can control the line of scrimmage, control the time of possession. I know we don't always like that, but that makes things so much easier on Patrick Mahomes, on Travis Kelce, on Rashee Rice, on Xavier Worthy. When a defense, you love to run the RPO, when they have to respect that there might be multiple rushers in that backfield that can break free for 30 or 35 yards. Where last year, you might not even have had 2 guys rushing, and the most you'd get on a run was 11 yards, and that was it.
And also we saw last year, we talked about some games the offense couldn't hold on to the ball in the 4-minute drill to keep the defense off the field and secure a win. The defense couldn't get a stop when the offense didn't come through to secure a win. Or the defense came through, the offense, then couldn't go and score. The offense came through, the defense couldn't get a stop. Now if you're in a 4-minute drill, I feel way more comfortable handing the ball to Kenneth Walker or even Emmett Johnson and finding a way to move the chains, pick up first downs. And if a team is trailing, I feel way more comfortable with the Chiefs being able to get after the passer in obvious passing situations if you can have Karlaftis, Woods, Jones, and R. Mason Thomas on the field at the same time. And the blitzing scheme of Spags. I feel much more comfortable with that. We'll take a timeout, come back. More Zone next. All right, man, if you're out there and you're suffering from erectile dysfunction, maybe it happened once or twice, you laughed it off, no big deal. No reason to hope that it can get better on its own. Heartland Men's Health, they're here for men's health. It's what they do. It is their entire business formula, career, life. For a lot of the people there, it's what they have dedicated their life to, is holistically getting the health of men to be closer to what they were when they were at their healthiest in your 20s, when you remember what the testosterone level was like, or at least you didn't even have to think of any of those things. If it's happened once or twice, then it might be something that is going to continue to happen. Maybe you've tried the pills or the herbals and they have failed. Well, Heartland Men's Health has treatments that work when that happens. In fact, treatments with success rates well over 90%. Simply schedule a consult with Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit, it's only $99, but that includes a medical consult with a licensed medical provider, a T and PSA test. And if medically advised, you get a test dose. And if the test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit, it's free. They have an expert staff with 3 locations to serve you: Overland Park, Independence, between Blue Springs and Lee Summit, and North Kansas City. Call them today at 844-447-6600. Tell them you heard about it right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. That's 844-447-6600, or visit heartlandmenshealth.com. I will take a timeout and come back as we wrap up this hour. We will talk a little bit more on the other side. I want to go through and discuss our favorite picks, and it doesn't mean we hated it, but our least favorite picks. You know, there has to be a ranking in some way. Something had to break the window. Something had to smash the stereo. So we'll talk about the favorites and least favorites. And we'll get into some Royals. They swept the Angels. Take that, Angel. It's not great to sweep the Angels on Sunday.
Poor Mike Trout again.
I know, right?
Just can't. The Royals just have his number.
I know. They moved the fences in for him, too. Still couldn't get out. It's unfortunate. More zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Jack Johnson hanging out with us. Michael, when did you get back from Pittsburgh?
It would have been late Saturday night.
It would have been or it was?
I don't even remember.
Oh, get his ass.
No, I don't know. It would have been if it wasn't for the damned weather that kept me in Pittsburgh until this morning. I don't know. I'm messing
I just love it. I have no. You didn't even know. Get him, baby.
I think I got back to Lawrence around 1 a.m. on Saturday.
Okay.
We had a huge travel day. I had to lay over in Houston.
Bragger.
I'll tell you what, we watched most of day 3 of the draft in different airports because
that's interesting.
You'd think that rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 would go quicker. If you want to hear, my worst of the weekend, I cannot stand the draft entertainment that they play. It's like cover bands playing the hits. If you hear that for 4 hours every single day, sorry to get going, but oh my gosh.
Get going, man. Do what you got to do, brother. Yeah, no, that was the same thing with the when it was in Kansas City. It's the only. Did you go to the draft in Kansas City as like a fan? Though?
Yeah, I was a fan, and I couldn't stand it then
Yeah.
either.
I fanned it up that one as well.
I heard a 9-minute version
I was
of
working
Shake It
that
Off.
one.
I'm good.
Well, they really wanted you to shake it off.
They really-
Nobody would shake it off. They're like, guys, please shake it off. For 9 minutes, we're asking you to shake it off.
We're not
entirety-
allowed to stop this song until everyone
The Chiefs
here
are off the
shakes
clock.
it off.
Like, oh my god, it was like they had to stay with the song until the team picked.
How many
Did they-
times did you hear that 24 Carat Magic by Bruno Mars?
At least 4.
At least 4, yeah.
least
That's always a
Did
crowd displeaser.
so? Did they play the "Shake It Off" for the Chiefs specifically
Yes.
because of Taylor Swift?
I'd assume so, and it was an 8 or 9 minute version of Shake It Off. I was like, are we done? Can we
guess-
be done?
Unreal.
It sounds like you have bad blood with them.
I'm done.
I'm not participating in this.
You're a better man than me.
So let's go through our favorite and our least favorite. And again, least favorite doesn't mean that you hated the pick. It's just, you've got from top to bottom, somebody has to be the least favorite, right?
Yeah.
My favorite pick, and he may turn out to be the worst of the entire group. I don't know. I don't know. But my favorite pick was R. Mason Thomas. And the specific reason is because the Chiefs simply said, we lack this trait on our defensive line and our edge rushers. And we can go the same route we've gone of let's get 3 down defensive ends. We got Karlaftis, got Gelati, Amenahue, even though his first year with the Chiefs was pretty good. He had 7 sacks and missed 6 games. So, 7 sacks in 11 games, that's pretty legit. His first year with the Chiefs was legit. And then he, tore his ACL. They won a Super Bowl. And he didn't play, but he did a pretty damn good job of getting the Chiefs to that spot, of helping them there. But having that particular part. Let's play clip number 2, because this goes along with why he ended up being my favorite pick, and it has nothing to do with our conversation of Mick and I, saying R. Mason Thomas for the Chiefs to take in the second round. It's also because of the specific traits and reasoning behind it. If it was Cassius Howe, I would have the same opinion here because it's something they had been lacking. That was the question. It's clip number 2 to Mike Bradway. That was the question, in that how much was R. Mason Thomas identified because of his ability to be a speed rusher on the outside, something that the defensive line has lacked.
I think we've kind of missed that element, with that group. So having a guy that can run off the ball, get tackles to turn quick, and I think that opens up guys on the inside to clean things up. So I think this guy's a true speed rusher. That I don't think he's a one-trick pony either. I think he actually does have some power. He can counter, but I think that helps the entire group because you want to have some versatility within those guys.
Mike, you mentioned his physical attributes, 6'2", 242 pounds. How much of an emphasis are you guys going to place on him to potentially put on some weight, or are y'all comfortable with that tweener type size?
His career, I think it's been a steady progression. I mean, he was a 200-pound kid, that freshman year. I think he's progressively, added the weight. I think 245 is a good weight for him. I think he can put on more weight, but you don't want to sacrifice the speed, explosion, the quickness just to add a few more pounds. And I think he's in a good spot where, like I said, I think the kid, he can play the run. I think he lacks ideal length and size, but he will strike blocks. He can get off. He plays really hard. So I think he's not just a rusher.
And that's the other thing, like his motor, like people talked about that he doesn't stop. Like he's not just speed rush, didn't get there, oh well. Like it's I'm going to continue to work. I don't care, honestly, I don't care if he can play the run. I really don't. They have had, I have watched this team have defensive ends that can play the run. Oh, he can really play the run. Fantastic. He can play the run. The Chiefs have been really good at stopping the run. Well, they've got defensive ends that can play the run. They have missed this. And I love that Mike Bradway, assistant GM, said, well, it's an element that we've been missing for a while. We haven't had that guy. We've missed that. Quote, he's a true speed rusher.
not gain weight too. I hope that means they learn with the Omar Norman lot. I hope this is what they mean of, no, we're not going to bring him in to change him.
No.
It's not a relationship.
We're not getting married and hoping he changes. We're getting married and he's hoping we don't change.
Because he's a speed rusher.
That's right. Leave him be. Put him on the outside. Again, that's why I said build it in the aggregate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like what Billy Beane and the A's did. How do you get a guy with that bats this, hits this many home runs, and an on-base percentage there? Well, we're going to take 3 different guys in our lineup, and we're going to put them together, and it's going to equal that particular guy. Over the aggregate, we're going to build that in our lineup. In the aggregate, build your 3 down linemen, Ashton Gelati and R. Mason Thomas. And maybe R. Mason Thomas surprises, and it's like, you know what, he is Nick Benito. He is a guy that can speed rush, but over the years, he's turned into be a 3-down lineman. That's just a damn good player and is, in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year because he's been that good. A sack leader while also first and second down holding his own against the run. That's what R. Mason Thomas has done over the years in developing. Awesome, great. You got a great pick there at pick number 40. Benito was late second round. Maybe it's the Oklahoma thing that we're drawing comparisons, as Jack said, that you don't want to get into that and thinking, well, this guy reminds me of that because of the Oklahoma part of it. But it's my favorite pick because it breaks the monotony of feeling like every year, here's this pick. But he could develop some pass rush. They needed it badly. They addressed it specifically. That he's my favorite pick of the 7. Sterling?
Yeah, so
you can't pick him. I already drafted him first.
I'm not going to. I really did consider him, but I will say I do have concerns, not about him. Like if he went to the Eagles, I would have no concern because I know he has a role. If he went to the Broncos, I wouldn't have a concern because I know how to use him. I do have concerns for that reason. It's less him. I like him as a player. It's just I want to see it before I can firmly believe
100%.
that they will use him in that way. But I love the pick overall. For me, the guy I have no concern about, that I'm thrilled by, that I think it was a team-wide, maybe even a bleep Dabo situation, is Peter Woods.
I like the bleep Dabo. You know what? Bleep them picks and bleep Dabo Sweeney.
Well, I do want all of Clemson was just like, yeah, we don't want to be here anymore. Something was going on behind the scenes.
Look, if yours, and maybe this is it, Sterling, if your entire offseason is built up to winning a national championship, and you've got all these guys returning to go and win a national championship, you've got the best defensive tackle, the second best edge rusher entering the season, one of the best quarterbacks that's going to be a top 10 pick entering the season, you've got one of the best cornerbacks in Terrell entering the season, you've got one of the best tackles in the country entering the season. You are across the board one of the best teams and a favorite to win the national championship. And then you come out flat, you lose, then you lose again. Then it's like, okay, well, now we can't even win the conference.
Season's over.
What's the point?
And I get it. You don't want that. I know it's college kids, and you're going to say, well, they should fight, and they should try and find a way. And I don't argue that point necessarily, that they rolled over. But they also were moving Peter Woods to spots that didn't make sense for him as a player. I just feel like there has to be something going on behind the scenes that the players clearly didn't respond to, because it wasn't one or two guys. It was a team-wide collapse. Again, not great. You'd like to see them fight through it and come together and then win out and everything is happy-go-lucky. But it wasn't a movie. It was just reality. And
there's no Mekhi Phifer.
And to me, I think Peter Woods has all the traits. We know the talent's there. I think, again, if you don't try and make him a nose tackle at Clemson for some odd reason and leave him be, well, he's a phenomenal player. Him next to Chris Jones gets me very excited about, okay, well, they're going to be seeing some one-on-ones, and probably it's going to be Peter Woods. And the Chiefs have not had a guy see a lot of one-on-ones and win one-on-ones quickly. It's been, I like Mike Pennell in the run game. You know this. I'm a big Mike Pennell guy. I've been a Pennell fan for a long time. But he wasn't going to win quickly. Derek Nadia, great guy. Love what he does for dogs and all that stuff, but on the field he was not a dog, and so it wasn't helping this team. We saw what happened when Turk Wharton came on and was getting one-on-ones. Well, he finally was able to see success. I think Peter Woods can do that. I love the Omar Norman Lott pick last year. I hated how they handled it last year. I also hate how he got injured, so we just won't know. But overall, I think Peter Woods to me is a guy that I'm very confident will have success inside or even occasionally at edge, mostly on the inside, and he'll take advantage of that.
Just call me an offensive-minded guy, but I loved the Emmett Johnson pick. I love trading up for Emmett Johnson. He was one of my favorite guys going into the draft. I just wasn't sold the Chiefs were going to use one of their first couple of picks on him. You're certainly not going to do it in the first round, but I thought there might have been a world in which, after you took an edge with the 40th pick, you find a way to move back into the second round to get a guy like him. But I clearly overshot that because he slipped all the way to round 5, which is where you got him. And look, we watched the Chiefs running back room last year. It was an eyesore. It wasn't fun to watch. Anytime they handed the ball off, I think everywhere you watched, people were groaning. Whether you're watching at your house, you were at a bar, you were at the game, people groaned when the Chiefs turned around to hand off the football because it didn't go anywhere. You got maybe 2 yards at best, and what you were left with in terms of excitement from the running back room was falling forward on a 4th and 1 and just picking up a first down. There is some real explosion now in the running back room, and I'm glad that after signing Kenneth Walker, after bringing in DeMercado, you could have said, well, look, we like that. That's a 1-2 punch. You bring back Brashard Smith. Maybe he's a running back. Maybe he's a wide receiver. Maybe you bring back Kareem Hunt to be your 1-yard guy, 4th and short, basically use him like a fullback. But to go out there and get somebody that ran for 1,400 yards last year, had a stretch for like 6 games where he ran for over 150 yards in every single one of them, had a couple of 200-yard performances. I get it's the Big Ten. They value running the football. But rarely do you see the Chiefs, when it comes to running backs, look at those numbers and say, gotta have that, right? It's always the guy who's at a smaller school. Hey, he's being overlooked by everybody. He can fit into our offense. Maybe he was a wide receiver in a past year, or he's got some special teams value. I love that they looked at Emmett Johnson and said, that's a number 2 running back. He had the production in college. He's still a day 3 grade for us. He seems to be slipping a little bit. Maybe it's because he ran a 4.5. Maybe it's because he's undersized. But he's got pass-catching ability. He's got good patience. He's got good vision. And now you've overhauled the running back room, and I really believe that was the most important thing this offseason over adding a wide receiver, over even shoring up maybe right tackle. I was fine going with Jalen Moore if it meant that you had some threat in the backfield. Now there's 3 guys that you have to pay a little bit of attention to. Certainly Kenneth Walker. I'm not going to act like DeMercado's this unbelievable back, but compared to last year, like, you do have to give him some form of respect on an RPO, and we'll see what Emmett Johnson does. Maybe he turns into something. Maybe he's just a practice squad guy. But I've got some real belief that, come training camp, come preseason football, he's going to be the true number 2 back, and I'd see him on the field maybe, for 20, 25% of the snaps? He'll get some good run in his rookie year, in my opinion.
Hey, put some respect on 7.1 yards per carry DeMercado last year.
Yeah.
Come on.
But then drop the football.
3 carries,
yeah.
It's easy to have a high average.
He had 44 carries.
Do you still get the yards if you drop the ball before the end zone? Like,
You should.
Yeah, you should. I
didn't know.
A lot came on a couple of carries, don't get me wrong.
He's got the burst, though, which is what the Chiefs running back room didn't have last year.
I'd say my favorite pick, and I hate to be just generic, but I think Mansour Delane is going to be an all-pro cornerback. I think his ceiling is the highest out of the picks, and his floor is also the highest out of all the picks. And even just seeing the way that Brett Veach and Andy Reid talked about him, it really felt like he was their guy no matter what. And clearly they traded up to get him, but I think that they would have taken him even if Bain and Delane were there at 9, clearly because they traded up to go get him. But I really like that the Chiefs are investing in that position, especially with you losing 2 of your cornerbacks in free agency to the Rams. I think it was so easy for Chiefs fans to say, oh, they'll figure it out. They figured it out in the past. Guess what? It gets harder to do that when you don't invest in the position, and they just gave Dave Merritt and company the best corner in the draft. And I think when we're looking at this draft class 4 years down the line, I hope they hit on other picks, but I am very confident saying he's going to be the best. If you just look at the history of cornerbacks taken in the top 10, if you're not Jeff Okudah, you're pretty damn good.
No, it's a good point. It's like one of the few that didn't hit, which
and he
is
was
sort
probably
of
the number 1 guy too.
Yeah, but that's sort of what proves the point. I mean, that's the one that's like, okay, everybody else is like, well, that didn't work out. Yes, that one. And we know that one didn't work out. It's the one that stands out because all of the other ones did work out.
The exception that proves the rule.
100%, yeah. We'll go to our least favorite. Again, it doesn't mean that you hated the pick. It's just, you got to have a top and a bottom typically. Sterling, we'll start with you. Did you have a quote-unquote least favorite?
Yeah, again, I didn't really have an issue with any of the picks. I actually think Garrett Nussmeier has maybe the best value, so I'm actually not going to go with that because even if it perplexing, which we can lay out later on, I want to. I think my least favorite, based on the guy that went one pick after, is probably Cyrus Allen.
I swear to God, I promise you, I thought maybe you were going to go that route because of who went right after.
Kevin Coleman.
I was actually thinking about going that route too. But based on that, yeah.
But even Kevin Coleman, to an extent, has the same issue that I think Cyrus Allen has. You're an undersized wide receiver in a Chiefs offense that this is who they go for perpetually. And I know that the UDFA, they brought in, if we want to get to UDFAs later on, we can, and the Calvin Johnson-esque body of a guy. But Cyrus Allen's smaller guy. He's, 5'11", 180? 5'11", 180. He's going to be a slot guy, which Rashee Rice is more that power slot. I don't see a role for Cyrus Allen necessarily. Like, I know he had 13 touchdowns. I don't hate the pick, by the way. This is, again, we had to have a least favorite. You had to have a least favorite. I don't hate the pick.
Yeah.
But, again, because I would have gone Kevin Coleman, who's basically a very similar style of player to Cyrus Allen. I honestly probably would have said the same thing, just because of the stylistic archetype of said player in KC. I have a hard time seeing where he fits. I have a hard time seeing that because... Is he jumping over Jalen Royals, who also is probably more of a slot type guy? Rashee Rice is your slot guy. I have a hard time seeing where he fits outside of a special team returner.
Jack, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of just want to echo what Sterling said. My only gripe, and it's not that Cyrus Allen can't be something in the Chiefs' offense. It just makes me chuckle that this is like their stereotypical wide receiver every single year.
Yeah.
They go for an undersized guy who can help on special teams, and you'll have some of those receivers out there like a Ted Hurst who big-bodied, 6'3", 6'4", can move a little bit. And when I'm watching other games in the NFL, not that I'm going to act like it's been hard to watch the Chiefs offense, it was last year for sure, but you'll see these games where those 6'3", 6'4" guys, it'll be 3rd and 8, and they'll just run like this hitch route, or maybe they'll run a comeback route, and they just throw it right there. It's like a back shoulder ball. They just post up basically like a power forward in the NBA, and they go get it. And when you look at some of the receivers like this, what do they have to do? They got to get separation. They have to be a great route runner. They also have to be able to catch the football. And I love the numbers that Cyrus Allen put up at Cincinnati, the 13 touchdowns. You can't ignore that, because I just said with Emmett Johnson, I love that the Chiefs looked at production and not so much of what he could be in this scheme, but he also kind of had a down year at A&M before Cincinnati, and I wonder if making that jump from the SEC to the Big 12 had anything to do with that. But this is how they like to mold receivers. They do not like the guys, or at least using draft picks on them, that are above 6'2". Like, they like to have the guys that are more slot receivers, good route runners, quick, but they get their separation on speed. They don't get their separation on size. The next guy, and really, who was the last big-bodied wide receiver to succeed in the Andy Reid offense? Like, I can't really recall. I mean, MVS was 6'3", but let's not act like
but
it
like
was
a bigger body,
like
though.
a big target.
He was
I can't
slender, wiry.
Yeah, I'm talking about, like, he's noticeable.
Oh, Josh Gordon. I mean, he got that touchdown. I mean, it was
Kelvin Benjamin.
I really think this is the week Josh Gordon breaks out. I just feel like this is the Josh Gordon week.
Justin Ross, obviously.
Yes. I mean,
yeah.
They have a track record of, like, if they wanted to rebuttal and say it doesn't work here, I guess they're right, because it hasn't worked.
But they
here.
don't try.
They don't try
here
enough.
Also, I think that's also the pushback.
But if, like, Cyrus Allen is McCole Hardman, like year one McCole Hardman, is that a bad pick? I don't think so. I think that'd be great for year one.
I don't think it's a bad pick, because I think he's really shifty too. Him and Kevin Coleman are the same build. Again, I actually think he's a good player. It's just, I think it's pretty decent value where they got him as well. It's just I don't see where he fits when he's probably a slot only guy, unless Rashee Rice is then going to kick outside. But I think we all agree Rashee's best in the slot as that power slot, not the shifty slot. So I guess for me, it's not that I don't like the player. It's that I have trouble. But again, that's kind of with R. Mason Thomas too. It's they're somewhat trying something a little different. I don't know. We'll see. But I don't see a defined role for Cyrus Allen, I guess, is my main pushback.
I'm with you guys. Cyrus Allen, and maybe this is a terrible comp, it just screams Cornell Powell to me. I see a guy that was a great route runner at Clemson in Cornell Powell, and we had not high expectations, but we thought that he would amount to something in the offense, and he didn't. And Cornell Powell, I looked it up, he's taller and heavier. And I just think Cyrus Allen is another one of those Chiefs wide receivers, a day 3 pick that historically they have not developed that guy, and maybe I should, but I just don't think that they're going to start now.
Yeah, I don't want to go with the same one because I was thinking about, Cyrus Allen being the guy that I wanted to go with. But I am, and by the way, we're not saying, I don't think any of us are saying, boy, I hate the pick, this is dumb. And
Agreed, no. There's
but
not
it's like,
a specific
but
pick
we're-
where I
but we're
just
coming up
dislike.
with the one that's the least favorite, right? If we rank them 1 through 7, somebody's got to be 7 in terms of, what we think of them. I want to be different here because I don't want to just simply go along with, hey, no, it's Cyrus Allen. It's Cyrus Allen. I guess I'll go with Garrett Nussmeier. I guess. But I don't even know if I really believe that. Just, again, that's only to be different.
I was actually going to say Nussmeier because my philosophy on day 3, round 7, take a defensive back, somebody that you can develop, and they've shown that they can develop. That's where I would have gone with that final pick.
And that's a great call. I don't argue that because of any team that should do that, it probably should be Kansas City. I think that, though, with Nussmeier, I thought the value was there, again, of a guy who the arm talent's there. You look at his junior year, he was incredible as a junior at LSU. Last year was a little bit of a disaster, but you almost want to chalk it up to injury, right? I know he benched the final 4 games, but the entire year was him dealing with an injury, and I wonder how much that affected him. I know he's not the biggest guy, but I don't begrudge the Chiefs saying, hey, Andy, you're good with quarterbacks. Let's see if we can get like a little Jimmy Garoppolo situation here. They haven't done it in the past. Like Shane Buechele wasn't that, or Oladokin. But this, to me, is, okay, Oladokin's not the long-term backup. Shane Buechele wasn't going to be the long-term backup. Let's try. Justin Fields is here for a year. Mm-hmm. Let's try and get the long-term backup to Patrick, a young guy, a guy we can trust to be here a long time. And guess what? If he's good, what do you do? Well, then now you flip him for picks.
Yeah, and that's why I don't really want to go. It's difficult to decide between the two because it's not like I like the Cyrus Allen pick. I do.
Same. It's just
what I would the pushback I would have is like I like the Cyrus Allen pick. Could you have gone elsewhere in that spot in the 5th round, and then instead of Nussmeier in the 7th round, taken Deion Burks from Oklahoma, who was one of the last selections of the entire draft,
sure,
and offers you essentially the same thing that you're getting, with Cyrus Allen, a guy that is shifty, speedy, but also is one of the best catchers of the football. Now, what I like about Cyrus Allen is that he seems to be an elite route runner. And again, we've talked about, can you just have somebody out there that can go and beat man-to-man and be a route runner and not just, well, you've got to scheme him open. Hey, you've got a cornerback on you. It's man-to-man. Go in. I need you to run a slant here. Okay, I'm going to take my 4 or 5 steps, and now I'm just going to run a slant. Or I'm going to take the 4 or 5 steps, stutter, outside, look like I'm going up the field, stop, cut inside, and I've just made the cornerback turn around, and now I've caught the ball. It's easier to catch the ball instead of the cornerback being right on me and knocking the ball out because I just ran a generic on-paper route. I like those things. Burks is a dynamic athlete that is really good at tracking the ball and has the ability to grab the ball out of the air and look smooth in doing it. Not double catches, not body catching. It's just his hands look like they're magnets to where the ball is, and he catches it. The issue would be like, does he come in at 5'9", 180, and he's a gadget player, like what Jack was talking about? We're going to the same archetype of receivers. So that's why I'm okay with it. If the Chiefs, oddly enough, didn't end up with their undrafted free agents of Jeff Caldwell, I might have said, I mean, Cyrus Allen, I like the pick, but I'd have rather had Jeff Caldwell at that spot. You got both of them. You got somebody in Caldwell that has an absurd combination of size and speed that you don't see very often. He's going to be a camp darling.
Yeah.
He's going to be a preseason darling. It's going to be
Justin Ross, pretty much.
It's Jeff Ross or Justin Caldwell. Although Jeff Ross, I don't think would make it in the NFL.
He just tells too many funny. Well, you know what? He might have the defender laughing so hard.
He would do that.
He'd roast. He would roast him.
He would roast cornerbacks constantly. That's what, you know what? Why didn't you go and get Jeff Ross? He would roast the defense the entire game. But it's going to be a Justin Ross. It's going to be Justin Caldwell, Jeff Ross combination. But I like the fact that they got him along with Cyrus Allen. What the Nussmeier thing that keeps me from picking him is, I have asked the Chiefs to stop being in the revolving door veterans that are more than the league minimum against the salary cap. Okay, so can Nussmeier now be a guy that you develop who's going to be league minimum as a 7th-round pick over the next 4 years in his contract? And you got Justin Fields this year, and then the next 3 years after that, you got a guy who's making $1 million a year to be a backup. That clearly has some talent, but you need to refine that talent. Learning behind Patrick Mahomes and with Andy Reid, hopefully that can be a guy that when he needs to step in, he can. And if he needs to step in and play a game or two and looks good, then as you said, Sterling, maybe you can flip him for picks. So it's not that I don't really like that one either. Like maybe the least favorite might be Mansour Delane because you had to give up 2 extra picks to get him. I don't know. Like,
yeah, but the player again, Cyrus Allen, I think is going to be same thing with Kevin Coleman. It's why I just.
Yeah, it's the Missouri part. If Kevin Coleman stayed at Mississippi State, I don't know that you would be saying
but
Kevin Coleman over Cyrus Allen.
Because I saw a lot of him, and I saw how shifty he was, and I think it was bad quarterback play. Early on, they used him the way I thought that they were going to use Luther Burden. I was like, oh my gosh, this number 3 looks like a similar number 3. And then again, they're like, okay, but what if we use him as a decoy? Like, what are you doing? He makes dudes miss left and right. Now, Luther Burden's obviously a much better player, but you saw some of the shiftiness. I think you have that with Cyrus Allen as well. It's not just the top end speed. It's what can you do when you're trapped in a phone booth. Yeah. I just don't see how he sees the field.
Yep.
Again, it's not that I don't like him as a prospect or a player. It's just I think right now he's behind Rashee Rice, again, unless Rice kicks outside.
Yeah.
Or I think he's behind Jalen Royals as well.
Yeah, I think he would be too. Royals has been a year in the system already.
And so he's your third slot option, but who's really your outside guys? It's basically just Worthy and Tyquan, right?
Juwan Jennings.
But like I think
they don't have the cap space.
But right now, who are your outside guys?
Yeah.
It's probably only Worthy and Tyquan.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. I want to talk Royals before we let Jack get away. Both, yes. I want to talk him. I want to talk Royals. I want to talk Jalen Royals. I want to talk Kansas City Royals. I want to talk about these O's ain't royal. We'll talk about all of those things next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Jack Johnson hanging out with us. Royals get an off day today. They sit 6 games under 500, 4 games out of first place. They get ready for a road trip, a 6-game road trip, 3 against the A's, 3 against the Mariners starting tomorrow before returning home and playing a number of series in a row against American League Central teams with the Guardians and Tigers and White Sox after this road trip. So returning home to face off against the Guardians and the Tigers, it's going to be a huge homestand starting next Monday. But they got 6 games between that going on the road where they had a disastrous road trip the last time they left Kansas City. Much better homestand, winning 4-5. Yesterday was such an odd game, and coming away with that win when it felt like some of the games they gave away earlier this year, like how do you blow a lead when you're up by 4, when you're up by 3 late in the game? You're in the 9th inning with a 3-run lead, 2 outs, nobody on. You got to win the game. Like that was a giveaway. You blew the game. And that's going to come back to haunt you. Well, we've talked about a couple of those this year already.
Yeah.
This was one that either team could have been like, let's go home, man. Let's just get the heck out of here. Royals are like, hey, we don't have to travel right now. We can go home, sleep in our beds, and then travel to Oakmento.
The Angels said,
Vegas.
hey, we actually make it go longer because we might blow this game, so we're going to just randomly ask for a rain delay. Q should have been way more mad. If I were Q, I would have been.
Yeah. I mean, he was mad.
No, I know he was mad, but I'm talking like.
Yeah.
Like, why am I drawing a blank on
Kurt Suzuki?
Bob Knight? I want Bob Knight
throw a
mad.
chair?
I want chairs to be thrown. I want bases to be thrown. I want.
Our ass is in the jackpot here, Q. All right, I get it. Whoa. Here, talk to me. Look, the rain's coming down. Our ass is in the jackpot too, okay?
It's been raining all game, and then the Angels are like, "Hey, we're struggling here. We might blow this, so we're gonna say rain delay."
Yeah, but getting the sweep matters. I do think that they had already won the series, and if they just simply go away, and it's like, okay, well, we lost the game, but they found a way to get it done. And Jack hits that monstrous home run. Vinny gets on. Salvi singles. I wasn't too enamored with Vinny trying to go to third there. I was like, oh, that's a double, because we're watching and the ball gets away. And my son was like, is that going to be an inside the park? I said, that's Vinny. He's stopping at second. There's 2 outs. His run doesn't matter. And then they show, like, that all of a sudden they cut to camera 3 and he's running and he's sliding in and the ball's almost there. I'm like, what are you? I was like, oh, my God, dude. He got there. And my son was like, yeah, but he was safe. I said, but you don't
do that.
Don't do that. You're down 3 runs.
And the slide, by the way, was not the most graceful slide I've ever seen.
Thank God he got there. They won the game. But it was an odd game because Lugo, I think there were 30 people on base against Lugo in the game. But he battled, stayed out there for a longer time. Detmers was good until you got to him a little bit. And then ultimately got to the bullpen. And then got to the bullpen in the extra innings and end up winning the game with Lane Thomas. I don't know. We talk about when they lose on a walk-off, Jack. Q's always like, well, that's just today. Tomorrow's a new day. We just put that behind us, and we got to get ready to play baseball. And then when you win one, it's like, oh, this is big. This is huge, to carry us into this road trip. I do think there's carryover to blowing a game when you've got a 3-run lead with 2 outs, nobody on, as opposed to winning a game like that. I think there's carryover both ways. Doesn't mean you're going to be winning, but it does mean mindset and feeling good going up to the plate a little bit different than we've lost 7 in a row and we just blew a 3-run lead in the 9th inning and Irsay can't close it out and he's walking everybody and we're screwed.
Well, you think about it. I mean, all week long, after losing 8 games in a row, we saw a homestand where they scored at least 5 runs in every single game. Now, it didn't result in a undefeated homestand, but they went 4-2, and you could tell as the week went on, and really it all started after that collapse against Baltimore in Game 1, there was more confidence every time they got to the plate. They weren't as tight. They weren't as puckered up. And that's all you saw for the first 23 games of the season. You could have something as easy as runner at third and nobody out. nobody looked like they wanted to be up there. It was like, oh no, it's me. I've got to drive this run in. Then if he doesn't come through, now the guy behind me absolutely has to put a ball in the air. And then when that doesn't happen, you got zero confidence. A guy with 2 outs is going to drive in that run. But it was almost this methodical approach, and it's something that, as crazy as it sounds, when the Royals were not hitting, I still liked some of the process of what they were doing. They were a little bit more patient. They were walking more. At times, it was to their own fault. They were being too passive where they were looking at strike 3 down the middle. They weren't being as aggressive in aggressive situations. And I didn't want them to completely abandon that philosophy because at some point, some of the bad luck you've been enduring, it's going to even out. You put a good swing on a ball, 3-1, and you hit it 105 miles an hour at 380 feet, it's probably going to be a hit when you're going well. And that's what I saw last night. That moment for Lane Thomas happens on April 5th. It's a flyout. Like, that's just what it is. They'd have somebody shifted over toward left center field. They run it down. The ball gets knocked down by the wind.
Even more than that, Jack's foul.
Yeah.
Caglianone's 2-run home run to tie it is foul.
Absolutely. Or Salvador Perez's ground ball at the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Suter gloves that.
Yes,
like, that's
right.
just, it's what happens in baseball.
Or Vinny's thrown out at third.
Or Vinny's thrown out at
And they're
third.
going, you're probably going to lose the game anyway, but you just can't do that.
You just can't do it. And that's where I think you've seen a team that is now starting to see the hits go through. They're having the doinkers just go right over shortstop. I mean, Isaac Collins, it's 6-0. A lot of people had turned off the game at that point, but he battles for 8 or 9 pitches and then singles the center off Reed Detmers. And that just gave them some life of, okay, we got 1 on the board. Then Bobby hits the 2-run home run. You're going, okay, now it's a 3-run game. It's a save situation. And then the more that game went on, you could tell the Angels realized after DFAing their closer the morning of, it's like, we better start pulling away. We're getting leadoff double after leadoff double. We need to bust it open to make this a 10-3 game. Otherwise, they're going to continue to get confidence and find a way to claw back in. But to win a game like that, I always say this, your momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher. That'll be Bubic tomorrow, the off day. That might impact things. But it is nice to know, after all they've gone through, the guy that came through yesterday after Isaac Collins, who had been one of their better hitters in the series, the guy that came through has probably been the most criticized of among non-starters, right? It's like, why is Lane Thomas on this team? He can't field, he can't run, he can't hit, but he's doing what they pay him to do, which is hit lefties. I know it's a smaller sample size, but that's kind of what you have to go off of in April. He knew in that moment Luke Casey was not going to throw him a ball because you're not loading the bases for Bobby Witt Jr., but also think about the pressure. If he swings at a pitch that's not a strike and he pops up, I mean, the amount of criticism in that spot for swinging at a 3-1 pitch that's out of the zone with Bobby Witt Jr. on deck, he would have never heard the end of it. But to see that ball go over the wall, to see Cag's ball get to the beer garden in right field, like, that's what we've all been waiting for weeks. It's not that everything's fixed now, but you are seeing an offense that's starting to roll a little bit. You need to get everything going at the same time, though, for one of those 7, 8, 9-game winning streaks.
For anyone with 50-plus plate appearances, he's the second highest on-base percentage, Lane Thomas. I don't like it when he bats third, but if you put him leadoff against a lefty, I don't get the complaints. He does what he's supposed to do. He has 11 walks and 11 strikeouts. He has more walks than Carter Jensen. He has 4 fewer walks than Vinny Pasquantino and half the at-bats. Like, Lane Thomas is doing his job. I was nice to see Garcia come into the game, by the way, for all the uncertainty about the soreness in his arm. Nice to see him. He took a huge walk late. I didn't like on that 3-0 that he took one down the middle, then a second one down the middle, but eventually he drew a walk late in that game, which ended up being huge. Carter Jensen, I don't know what's going on with the pass balls. They need to stop. I know he's trying to frame it, but the framing matters less with the ABS, as we're seeing by Salvi. Catch the ball, because that was almost a heartbreaking loss, right? Jack hits the home run, you come back out, and then you have a wild pitch. Not a wild pitch, a
pass ball.
A pass ball in back-to-back innings.
Yeah, I know Ursig didn't expect him to drop it, but Ursig was pouting after missing and then looked up and was like, oh, it got by him. Then now it's too late for me to get there. But you know what? We've been asking, sometimes the offense has to bail the pitching staff out. Like, the pitching staff was winning a lot of those games. They weren't winning a lot, but the games they were winning mostly was because of the pitching staff. They were bailing the offense out. And the offense has to come through from time to time. They scored their last 6 runs all with 2 outs. The 3 runs in the 9th and the 3 runs in the 10th. All of them came with 2 outs.
I want to have the conversation, and I know we might have some disagreement here because I know we had it in the little bit in the off, and I try to keep quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Play Cags versus lefties. I don't care that Reed Detmers is phenomenal against lefties. I don't care. I don't care that Cags has struggled this year against lefties. He didn't last year. Cags is one of your best power bats. Salvi's batting 187 overall. Vinny's batting 160 overall. I don't give a hoot that Cags struggles versus lefties.
Well, I don't think it's really about Cags, though, right, Jack?
I don't care that Detmers is great against lefties. And again, I'm not saying play him over Lane Thomas because one different spots there.
Yeah.
The point I'm making is was it 6th overall? You drafted him 6th overall. You want him to be an everyday guy, but you can't let him develop into an everyday guy unless you let him face tough lefties. He faced a pretty tough lefty in Drew Pomeranz, and what did he do? He rewarded you. I get it's not analytics. I know that's some of what we talked about when it's the lefty-righty. That's been going on for generations, for decades, for 100 years. Lefty is up there, you throw a righty in there. But at some point, you got to let Cags sink or swim. He swam. He was Michael Phelps in that moment.
Was he?
He had a 2-run shot. That's gold to me. I don't know. I'm team let Cags face way more lefties. Reed Detmers or not.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that he needs to develop. I mean, I do believe in the process of if you want him to be an everyday player, he's got to face lefties, and at times tough lefties. But I think in his developmental process, because we're not far removed from him being one of the most overmatched hitters in all of baseball last year. And though it's been a better start for him, he looks to be a more polished, more mature hitter. I don't think you can be just reckless in lineup construction, because yesterday, I mean, think about it. Reed Detmers, I looked this up this morning, he has the lowest opponent's batting average against lefties in the league among qualified pitchers. So he's got he's holding lefties to like a 136 average. That's 15 points lower than second place. He's got the second lowest whip. He's got the third highest strikeout rate against lefties this year. And the Royals already had 3 lefties that had to start in the lineup. Michael Massey has to play because Jonathan India is hurt and Michael Garcia is not 100%. Carter Jensen's been your hottest hitter and statistically actually your best hitter this year. You're not taking him out of the lineup. And who's the last one I'm missing here? Vinny, he had his off day on Friday, so you're not giving him another off day in this series. And Cags going into it, I mean, the splits, even after his home run, aren't great. They have to get better. And I do want him to be that guy where it's Reed Detmers, Chris Sale, Tarek Skubal. He's in there because he's a better option than Starling Marte. But I can understand the logic of you want to do this the right way, where if he goes out there against Reed Detmers and goes 0 for 3 for 3 strikeouts, what's our conversation today? Oh, hey, I'm glad they put him in there because he got some good at-bats against Detmers. What if he struck out 3 times on 11 pitches, right? Then that's not really what you want to see. He'll get there. He absolutely will. But yesterday, it was far more about, Reed Detmers walked to the mound when they're starting 4 lefties against me. He's going, that's fantastic. And one of these guys has a 40% strikeout rate against lefties. That's playing into my favor. Where we know Matt Quatrero, it's a game-by-game basis. You could have a guy that is red hot, but if he's not great against lefties and the starter on the mound is really good against lefties, they'll probably go with Starling Marte until Marte's just not an option anymore or Lane Thomas isn't an option.
Well, I think part of it could also be like, okay, so he went from 180 to 230 against lefties from last year to this year. Is that then, okay, well, you got to play him all the time against lefties? Or is that, well, Q's also protected him against ridiculous lefties that, dominate other left-handed hitters? Like, he didn't play against Chris Sale opening day. I don't think that was Cags. I think that was Chris Sale.
Agreed. He
didn't play against Detmers, and I don't think that was because of Cags. I think that was more about Reed Detmers. But I can also understand going, okay, so you're seeing more success, Sterling, like you're talking about. Now let's reassess and say how much do we need to sit Cags versus lefties, or play Cags versus lefties and see if he and the Royals can benefit from that in the long run.
Yes.
But I do think if you're sitting there in the office and you're, Q and you're JJ and you're going, we got to figure out how to develop this guy for the long term. What's the plan? Let's stick with the plan. And if we're going up against guys that dominate lefties, maybe that's an opportunity to get him out of the lineup, get him a day off, We've got Marte for a reason. You got Lane Thomas for a reason. I know different positions, left field versus right field. But if there's a left-handed hitter that we feel like he can, perform against, well, we're going to put Cags in the game. And if that's the case, Sterling, then I do think at this point you re-examine and go, okay, next time they face Reed Detmers, is Cags starting?
Yeah, I guess for me too,
there's a next time.
it's a really good call, Jack, in regard to the injuries and who was going to play. I do wonder if, let's say, Michael Garcia was starting and India was starting instead of Massey at second base. Then do you have Cags in the lineup? I think that's a fair conversation to have. Again, for me, part of it is Cags is a young guy. He was fine against he was bad against everyone last year, but it wasn't like he couldn't hit lefties last year, and he was just even worse than righties. I think that, for me, he's part of your future. I think he's part of your now. I think he's one of your best power hitters. I still think that almost against everyone, I like to see him out there. But again, I get it with Garcia not starting, with Massey starting at second, and because India's injured. You're not stacking lefties against Reed Detmers. That is a fair argument. Overall, I want to see more Cags. I want to see more Carter. I think lefty-righty at some point, just don't overthink it. Who's your better hitter? Starling Marte is not part of the future. Quite frankly, he's almost had a reverse split in his career, better versus righties than lefties. Starling Marte has. I don't know. That's more or less where I'm at.
We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling, talk about this road trip for the Royals, A's and Mariners. More Zone coming up next. All right, wrap up this hour. Jack, what do you think of this 6-game road trip? It was a disastrous last road trip they had.
Yeah, they have not played well on the road. They usually don't play well on the West Coast. Good news is for the offense, they're going into the second most hitter-friendly ballpark in the league behind Coors Field. But the A's, they have a really good offense as well. So that'll be a shootout. And the Mariners, you go to the complete opposite, one of the more pitcher-friendly ballparks. Goal is 4-2, I would say. Just continue to stack series wins and then come back home for rematch with the Guardians.
Guardians and then Tigers. Yeah.
Oh, my.
Go on the road, hold your own, then return home for massive early season matchups in the Central when you've got some ground to make up head-to-head with those particular teams. Thank you, Jack.
Of course.
Joel Penfield next.
Joel Penfield on the Zone is brought to you by Reed Collision Center, serving Overland Park, Kansas City, and St. Joe. Get a free photo estimate in minutes at reedcollision.com. That's reedcollision.com.
All right, we continue on a Monday edition of The Zone, Sports Radio 810 WHB. Heading up until 2 o'clock, Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast, joining us here in The Zone on a Monday. Joel, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I am doing just fine. Not only, Joel, did they get the entire game in yesterday, they played extra. They were like, you know what? We've delayed this. We didn't even know if we were going to get the whole game in. Let's just double down and get another inning here as well. So that's fun for the people that were out there, including you, Joel. Sometimes it's fun to spend your whole day at the ballpark. I don't know. Was it fun for you to spend your whole day at the ballpark?
It was fun. 3.5 hour game and an hour and a half delay. That was moved up 3 hours, and I live 45 minutes away from the ballpark. So that was oh shoot, I got to get there now.
Yes.
For all the pregame stuff, but no, well worth it. Certainly, I am feeling it today, but certainly well worth it given the result that the Royals got. As it was nightfall in Kansas City by the time that game finished up.
Well, I want to talk about it from the standpoint of the first month of the season. We were talking about these games going against the Royals, and kind of by the coaching staff and the players, not necessarily being dismissed because the players were saying, it's on us, we got to be better. Vinny continued to take responsibility and hold himself accountable for the offense and say that, your number 3 hitter can't be, slugging 200 and feel like the offense is going to be successful. And so these things were being said, but with the backdrop of, man, it's just one game. All right. Yes, it was a loss, but it's just one game. The great thing about baseball is we get a chance to do it tomorrow. I present it that way with then the Royals pulling off this win, which is the opposite of how they were playing. Can then we also view it that way when it's in the positive of, yeah, it was a win, but, it's only one game. You put it behind you and you get ready for the road trip. Or is some of that lip service when you lose and maybe there is more of a lingering hangover on a tough loss like they've suffered with Urseg out there versus a big win that they stole one with down by 3, 2 outs, nobody on in the 9th, and somehow over the next 2 innings they get 6 runs?
Yeah, I do think there is an amount of lip service of, hey, it's one game we got to worry about. We can't let yesterday beat us today. That sort of mentality over 162 games makes a ton of sense. Whether we want to believe that's what they believe or not, that's a different conversation. I do think a win like this does linger beyond that day. I do think winning is infectious. That momentum is there, whether those guys want to say that is the case or not. I asked Bobby if there was any extra any extra weight that game carries, given the way that they won and responded when they've been on the other side of those types of losses for the last couple of weeks. And he said, any win is momentum and you just got to carry it forward. I think that undersells it a little bit. I think being able to get off the mat twice in the final couple of innings when you've done nothing but snatch defeat from the jaws of victory in these close games for the better part of the season, and now twice this week you walk off the game on Tuesday to snap the losing streak, and then last night you're down 3, tie it, and then you're down 1 and win it in the 10th inning. I do think there is some significance, and now we say all that, they got to go out tomorrow and win in Sacramento to actually make it matter. Otherwise, it's all for naught, and it's a great win, but it didn't carry the momentum that we thought.
What's been the difference to you in the offense? Is it just, hey, they're coming through with runners in scoring position now, and that's really it? I mean, again, 6 runs yesterday in the 9th and 10th were scored with 2 outs. I don't know if they had 11 or 12 straight games that they could have got 6 runs with 2 outs. Heck, 6 runs total. They scored 29 in this series against the Angels, and before the homestand, they went 13 straight games and scored 29 total runs before they came back home.
Right.
They scored 29 in these 3. What's been, in your mind, the biggest difference as to why this offense has had these 5 straight games scoring at least 6 and every game on the homestand scoring at least 5?
I do think the macro of it is what we've talked about for the last couple of weeks of process and results actually meeting, because they're still walking at a decent enough clip. They're still doing a good job not chasing. They're doing all those right things, hitting the ball hard and all that. And some of those hard hit balls that found gloves and were a bit unlucky, or just you hit the ball hard, you did the right thing, didn't come through. We saw more of those actually find grass this past week, that they were able to string some of these hits together. They made their own luck with some home runs, which is something that they haven't done a ton of over the last, however many years. But really, like this season, the power, it took a little bit for it all to come together. And this week we saw that in some big spots. Massey hit probably the biggest home run of the season on Tuesday to tie that game late in the game against Baltimore. And then last night, obviously, Jack hits the big home run. He had 2 home runs on the week. He's not a singles hitter, Jason. I don't know if you knew that. And then Lane Thomas with the biggest swing of his Royals tenure so far. First time he had actually barreled a baseball all year, according to Savant. He didn't have one coming into the game yesterday, and then, of course, he hits the walk-off home run and gets his moment. So you're seeing a team that is finding ways to string more hits together, and they're making their own luck by hitting the ball over the fence and driving the ball into gaps for doubles and finding those extra base hits. It makes a massive difference with runners in scoring position, rather than just trying to do the 2015 keep the line moving with 8 straight singles. Like, it's way harder to do that in 2026 than it was about a decade ago. And we're seeing all that come together. Is the offense perfect? No, but I think we're starting to see guys round into form a little bit. Bobby, it looks like the power's starting to come back for him. He had a few doubles this week. He hits the home run yesterday. Salvi had a 3-hit game and a home run on Saturday. So maybe he's going. Jack has a couple of home runs. Carter's still swinging the bat well. It's all starting to round into form. Do I wish it would have happened 2 weeks ago? Sure. But it's happening now, and we'll see if they're able to dig themselves out of the hole that they dug themselves in the first couple of weeks. I'm not ruling out that possibility right now with what we've seen this homestand.
So it brought out some fun conversations after Jack hit the home run in the 9th inning to tie the game up, which, by the way, 2 weeks ago that would have been foul. We know that, and that's just how baseball is, right?
Of course.
It would have been foul. 2 weeks ago, either Vinny gets thrown out at third for trying to stretch a double into a triple when you're down 3 with 2 outs, or Salvi's roller up the middle is just to the right or left from where it was, and it's gloved and thrown out, and they don't get any runs, or Jack hits a foul ball, and then the next pitch is a strikeout. That was 2 weeks ago. Instead of all of those things working in their favor.
It feels that way. You're not wrong in that regard.
So he does have that home run, though, in all seriousness, and he does that against a lefty, which brought up the immediate of play Cags against lefties. What do you make of this conversation? Because, we just had the conversation in the previous segment with myself and Sterling and Jack Johnson. And my view, and Jack was sort of on this side as well, of I don't think yesterday was necessarily Cags against lefties. I think it was Reed Detmer against lefties, just as Chris Sale on opening day was more about Chris Sale than Cags. But then the conversation grew into, okay, but now do you reassess moving forward? And if you're willing to play Vinny against tough lefties, when do you start examining and saying, we have to reassess Cags against lefties versus what our original plan was this year?
Yeah, I think yesterday is an example that I think Cags deserves more plate appearances against left-handed pitching. Does that mean I want him in there against Tarek Skubal and Garrett Crochet and Framber Valdez and Chris Hill? Not really, at least not right now. The guys, for his ability to still make contact and get the ball in play against left-handed pitching, he's still striking out 40% of the time against lefties and has not walked against a left-handed pitcher all year. So there's still some warts there that you probably don't want in the lineup for 3 or 4 plate appearances against a lefty. But but do I believe he needs more opportunities? Yes, because he's shown he can still stay in there, keep his front shoulder in and doesn't fly open against the lefty, and he can hit home runs, and he can drive the ball. So it's more nuanced than simply just, he can't play. They're just going to platoon him. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think the same thing with Carter. There is an element of protecting young guys against left-handed pitching, especially left-on-left guys that have struggled historically in those platoon splits. Now, Carter has shown He's an ability left on left to drive the ball as well. There's a reason why he was in the lineup yesterday with a lefty on the mound, because he's shown that he can do it. I think hitting a home run in that spot off a lefty, I know Pomeranz is, toward the end of his career, he's still a good pitcher and a really effective back-end reliever. For him to come up in that spot, I do think there is some significance. I do think it carries weight, and I do think for all the people that just want to bang on Quatraro, he does reward guys that have good plate appearances, that are in the lineup every day for those reasons, that they know they're going to give us 4 really good at-bats tonight. And I think we're seeing CAG stack more and more of those games together, less of the really ugly strikeouts, more, even if he grounds out or he gets out, he's working 5 or 6 pitches. He's more confident working walks now. He's getting his ace swing off on pitches in the zone. I think we're going to see him continue to break out, and he's going to be in the lineup more and more regardless of who's on the mound.
Visiting with Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast, as we talk some Royals. They got the day off today before heading on a road trip to Sacramento and then Seattle before returning home and having a pretty big homestand with the Guardians and Tigers next week. Any concern after yesterday's game and maybe from what we've seen this year of Carter behind the plate, or it's a rough game, had a couple wild pitches, and guys have rough games at the plate, guys have rough games on the mound, and it's should be granted that some catchers can have some rough games from time to time.
Yeah, and for young catchers too. Like it is it's the most demanding position in the sport. You're dealing with all these different pitchers with all this different stuff. It's still something he has to learn. And to his credit, the metrics bear out he is good at framing, which is something that Salvi has always never been awesome at. But the one thing Salvi was always good at is keeping the ball in front of him and blocking the ball and keeping it, from getting to the backstop more often than not. And Carter has really struggled with that, and it was magnified yesterday. And he owes Cags and Lane Thomas a very expensive steak dinner for saving him twice.
Yeah.
Because it happened in the 9th and then it happened in the 10th, where a run scored off of a passed ball. But this is a prime example of why Salvador Perez still catches as much as he does, because Carter's still got some learning to do. Do I think that means Carter isn't going to be catching as often? No. They need him to continue to learn, and this is part of that potential growing pain. But it's something he's got to figure out fast, because it cannot continue. You can't continue to make the same mistake over and over again. Just focus on getting the ball in front of you, worry about the science of just blocking the ball, and then worry about the art of framing later, is how I view it. But I'm not concerned overall about Carter's defense. It was something that he struggled with in the minor leagues, and then it got better. And so now maybe it's just the adjustment period of keeping up with the demands of being a catcher at the big league level for a 162-game season.
What would how much would you have placed money if you said you're down 8-5, there's 2 outs, nobody on in the bottom of the 9th, and the next 2 batters are Vinny and Salvi, that not only would the game have been extended, but somehow they would have tied the game? You would have needed both those guys who have been the issue with this offense this year. Let's be honest, even though Salvi had the great game on Saturday. But Vinny and Salvi coming up, that's as surprising as, just simply the comeback in general and the offense turning around, because, Bobby had a good at bat and it's like, okay, well now here you go. You got Vinny and you got Salvi. There's even if Vinny, it's a bloop and a blast, you're down by 1, but that's both guys getting on, and that's what started the rally. And how much money would you have placed on, hey, I'm going to bet you this amount that the Royals come back and win this game? Great. I will triple it. How much money do you want in this bet that the Royals do not get both these guys on?
Yeah, I mean, just full disclosure, I had the Royals dropped the finale tweet drafted up with 2 outs and ready to hit send, and so I had to renege on that twice.
That's fine. That's fun, though. It's better than the opposite.
I was like, they dropped the finale, great comeback, came close, post-game show coming up next. And then I had to quickly delete that, and then all caps, oh my God, home runs, amazing. So I was not very confident, admittedly, but I think with 2 outs, the post-game, the win expectancy at that point for the Angels was 99.5%. And how many times have we seen the Royals in the last week have when expectancy's that high, and then they find a way to blow it. So you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat for a change, and we'll see what it does for them going forward.
Joe Penfield is our guest. Okay, so I wanted to look back to Saturday too, because they win 12-1, and boy, we have been asking for just a laugher. Can we just have a game where you watch and there's no stress, and it's just one of those, you go out and you beat a team down and you go shower and get ready for the next game? And that happened on Saturday. The Royals scored 12 runs, and it's like, man, what a great day for the offense. But in a season where the offense has been so bad, Joel, they scored 12 runs, and you come away talking about the pitcher with Cole Reagans. After the game against the Yankees, I really wanted to see what Cole looked like in this game, and obviously you want him to stack these starts onto each other, but he looked as good as he's looked in a while, did Cole Reagans. 27 swings and misses in the game, 6 innings, 11 strikeouts, just the walk. What did you see from Cole Reagans, and how much confidence maybe does that give you and maybe even him moving forward to put that comebacker to his hand, rough start against the Yankees, that, okay, he looked like Cole Reagans.
And he actually had no walks in that game.
No walks, yeah.
Run to Adele. It was the third time in his career that he's had a double-digit strikeout game with no walks. First time since, I want to say, early last year. It might have been a start in Cleveland where we went 11 strikeouts, no walks. And you could tell he had it from the beginning. Just the four seam working at the top of the zone was electric. He was 98, 99. And even into the fifth inning, it was 96. He still had a 97 in there late in the game. He was able to hold his velocity, which is not necessarily something that we've seen from him over the last couple of years. He kind of pushes and pulls the velo to be able to maintain it over the course of the game. He'll 93, 94, when he needs to reach back, he'll get to a 97. But there was a lot of 6s and 7s and 8s, early in counts, and he had the changeup working. And even the slider's been one of his better pitches recently, but he didn't really have that working, so it was just fastball changeup, and it didn't matter. He had those guys in the rocking chair all night long, and it really didn't matter 1 through 9. It was one of the best starts I think he's had as a Royal, at least since 2024, and it does give me confidence going forward. And we asked him, Andy Rogers asked him post-game about the velocity, and he said that he found something mechanically that has, allowed him to be able to drive the ball a little bit more and be able to hold his velocity and be able to reach back for that more often. So if he's able to do that, and he's able to be the guy that isn't 93 to 95, but is closer to 95 to 97 over 5 to 6 innings, then we're looking at the 2024 version of Cole Reagans. And hopefully if we see more of that, that's going to lead to more wins. Even if it's not necessarily a 12-run outburst on offense, you're going to find ways to win more games more often than not when you get that version of Cole.
Yeah, it was awesome to see. It was definitely needed. Maybe not as needed in that game because they scored so many runs, but it was certainly needed for his confidence and maybe just people confident watching. Now to the it's no way around it. The bad side. Parts of the bullpen, we still wonder if there are answers for this thing. I don't know if Carlos Estevez at the beginning of the season was, okay, thank God he's not pitching anymore for this team. And when he comes back, put him in lower leverage situations. Ursig hasn't exactly gone out and proven that he deserves the job moving forward. Hopefully Estevez looks like he did last year, the year before. But a couple of other guys, and maybe even specifically, I liked the signing of Alex Lang. Let's see what he can do. He's got stuff, and he's got a live arm. But at what point do you got to pull the ripcord with him and say, do you need a guy in your bullpen that's putting 3 or 4 guys on every inning and giving up runs in almost every outing that he's had? I love the story being from here and all of that stuff, so I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping he can turn it. Every time he comes out there, I'm like, all right, is this the one that he turns it around? But then he walks 3 guys, and puts 4 guys on base, and his, whip is like, 2. What do you make of what the decisions might be as to 11 2/3 so far, that it might be time to figure something out in that spot?
Yeah, I'm kind of ready for him to pull that ripcord, in my opinion. Like, it's tough because he's one of the only guys that gives you a ton of swing and miss and chase from the right side out of this bullpen, but he also walks the world, and when he is in the zone, he gets hammered. So it really is a spot where, yeah, you may want to keep him around for the strikeouts, but he's a gas can ready to explode most days because of the walks. And right now, that's something this bullpen really struggles with, and he's at the forefront of that. And again, like, he's kind of lucky that Tags hit the home run. Otherwise, we're talking about, they maybe had a chance in that game down 2, made it 3 with 3 consecutive 2-out walks. I just don't know how much longer it is, and his contract is like $1 million or $1.5 million. That's a rounding error at a certain point. Like, you can get rid of that contract, and it's not that big of a deal. It sounds like Carlos is coming back. Q sounded confident that the velocity is starting to tick up. Sounded like it was in the low 90s. I didn't get a definitive number yesterday, but he's going down to Arizona tomorrow to face hitters and then rehab assignment from there. And if his velocity is closer to what it was last year or even just mid-90s, then he's going to pitch in this bullpen. I don't know if it'll necessarily be the 9th inning, but it adds another arm that can get big league outs that you feel like, okay, we'll see what he's got. Not necessarily expecting him to be 2025 Carlos Estevez, but it's still better than a lot of other options that they currently have in their bullpen. Really, it's Erceg, Strom, and Daniel Lynch out of nowhere has been really, really good. Erceg has had 3 outings that I think have been really good this week. The Monday one was a disaster, but then he goes out on Tuesday. It wasn't the prettiest, but he gets a 0. Maybe looks the best he looked all year on Friday with the 2 strikeouts. He looked good yesterday. The pass ball from Carter didn't help him, but he still got 2 more strikeouts and some swing and miss, which is something he's really struggled with this year. So I think Erceg's closer to back on track than he looked over the previous week or so, but it's still a little sketchy when they have to go to the bullpen late in a close game.
Well, and the swing and miss part, and I'm glad he got the strikeouts, but part of the story so far for Erceg this year has been that he's not able to get the swing and miss.
Not at all. It's completely gone away from 2 years ago. It's very odd.
Yeah, and if that's not happening, like, I don't know that you can't really have guys in high leverage situation that can't get swing and miss. And in his mind, Joel, he knows he's not getting the swing and miss, which is why he's trying to be too fine, which is why he's walking guys. Because if I leave it in the zone, they're going to hit it. If I throw a strike, they're going to hit it. So I got to throw strike to ball and hope that they swing and miss on that one, or I get soft contact. Because if I throw strike to strike or ball to strike and they hit it, they're going to put it in play, and it's probably going to, beat me because they're getting good swings on that. I don't know if it's a mechanical thing or a confidence thing or the book is out on him thing. I have no idea, which is why I'm
the third.
Okay. Yeah.
The fastball shape has never been great, and he's now it's at a point where he's just kind of throwing it in the zone, and there's not like a ton of late life to it. Like the sinker isn't quite as sharp as it used to be. Seems like he's kind of found something with the slider, which is good. And then, we'll see. I still trust that he's going to figure out the track record that he's had coming into this year. Even with the lack of swing, this is still a guy that's going to pitch to a mid-2s ERA. So I imagine that he's going to figure it out, and they're going to find a workaround on it. The ERA is not going to be pretty for the rest of the year because as a reliever, when you have a blow-up early in the year, you're just chasing that ERA the rest of the year. So we'll see, but ultimately I think he's gonna figure it out.
All right, the road trip for you, Joel. They got 6 games. What would you like to see before they return home in what will be a massive homestand against some AL Central opponents?
If they can go 3-3, I think it's successful. I know that the A's are improved. I don't think they're necessarily still a great team. You're in a minor league park where the ball flies, so maybe it could be just a continued good success for the offense. See some balls go over the fence, see some balls land. They are facing Luis Severino, I believe, in this series, whose home road split is insane. It's an ERA above 6 in Sutter Health Park in Sacramento since he's been with the A's. So, a chance to win those. Seattle's going to be tricky just because their pitching staff is still very, very good. Yeah. And so you're going to have to win some low-scoring games there. But they have a lot of the same problems that the Mariners do. They're pretty identical teams in that the offense is very inconsistent. The stars aren't necessarily broken out quite yet, and the bullpens are very sketchy. So you may have a chance to steal a couple there from a team that had World Series aspirations coming into the year.
There you go, Joel Penfield. I'm with you. 3-3, 4-2. That'd be great. Don't come back under 500 after in these 6 games, and then get set and feel like you're playing good baseball overall for a massive homestand that we will talk about and preview next Monday. Joel, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Enjoy the baseball. Some late nights this week, but enjoy it. We'll talk next Monday.
Sounds good, Jason. Take care.
Absolutely. There's Joel Penfield, One Royal Way podcast. Great stuff from him as always. You can check it out on X and Twitter and his podcast and follow him. He was there out at Kaufman all day yesterday, just as the Drake was out there too. Poor guys. Covering it for work. And shout out to the people that braved and stayed out there the whole time. You know, a night game turns to an afternoon game, turns to a delay, turns to an extra innings game, and just a wild, winding labyrinth to get to the final score of the Royals winning in 11 and Lane Thomas getting his first walk-off. We will take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. We'll hear from Ryan Nutt, the one of the assistant GMs in the front office for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll hear from him as their full post-draft breakdown for the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk with him, Vice President of Player Personnel, coming up next.
You're in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Getting a little older doesn't have to mean, well, getting older. This is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health, and if you're feeling low energy, can't sleep, can't lose weight, are struggling with brain fog, or your sex drive is off, it's time to change it up. At Heartland Men's Health, our advanced medical strategies featuring TRT, GH peptides, NAD+, GLP-1s, PDA, and more treat low T and other hormonal issues to help you shed pounds, have more energy, enhance your body composition, improve sleep, increase your sex drive, and so much more, getting you back in the game again. So don't be older. Be stronger in the gym. Be sharper at work. Be better in the bedroom, and be more confident in every part of your life. So call us today and find out how our advanced treatment strategies could change the game for you. Your first visit is just $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. And if you start on one of our advanced treatment plans on the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com.
Feature therapies are compounded and have not been evaluated nor approved by the FDA. Provider prescription required. See website for details.
When you want
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Mick Schaefer joins us in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll hear from VP Player Personnel Ryan Nutt with the Kansas City Chiefs. They just tased Ryan.
They just tased Ryan.
Hopefully they did not.
I hope they didn't tase Ryan's.
Well, so big news out of college football right now that could have massive implications on this season, the Big 12, and that is Brendan Sorsby, one of the top returning players and one of the top transfers from Cincinnati that's at Texas Tech, is checking into a residential treatment program for a gambling addiction. Sorsby's decision to seek treatment is in the wake of a discovery of Sorsby making thousands of online bets on a variety of sports via a gambling app. That will obviously jeopardize his eligibility at Texas Tech. The NCAA does not allow college athletes to gamble on any sport, whether that be college or pro, sports they aren't participating in. Obviously, sports they are participating in. It's just that they're not allowed to do that. It will jeopardize the eligibility. Texas Tech said in a statement, the university is committed to supporting Brendan through his recovery process to ensure his long-term health and well-being. What's going to be a big issue for Sorsby, if he is found to, have done all these things, which you would expect that he would be found to do that if he's going to check himself into a rehabilitation center for gambling addiction. While at Indiana, he did place bets on Indiana football games. That's going to be difficult to win an appeal.
Yeah.
On an eligibility. Now, they were on Indiana to win, and none of those came in the game in which Sorsby appeared. Maybe that will help him in an appeal. But
it's still dumb. What are you doing? You know this. They're
yes.
Pete Rose is a very famous example of this. Don't be a dumbass.
Yes.
I don't care if you're 18 or a professional. You know this. This is not a hard concept.
The rule states in the NCAA guidelines that amended with the passing of legalized gaming in 2023. They amended the rule and says, quote, student athletes who wager on their own games or on other sports at their own schools face permanent loss of collegiate eligibility in all sports. If a college football player bets on a different school in their own sport, the loss of 50% of one season of eligibility is also under consideration. Wagers greater than $800 would lead to a potential loss of 30% of a season eligibility. Cumulative wagering that greatly exceeds $800, that's additional loss of eligibility, including and up to permanent ineligibility. He received, $5 million? Was the some of the reported numbers out there for Sorsby in his transfer to Texas Tech. LSU wanted him. Texas Tech wanted him. He got the money from Texas Tech, decided not to go pro. It was going to be in his best interest to make more money in the college side of it. So it's a big blow nationally because Texas Tech spends a lot of money and they put themselves in position to play for national championships. And they looked at it last year and said, we've got some defensive players. We were a quarterback away from maybe winning a national championship. Well, let's not let that happen again. Let's go get the best quarterback out there and pay whatever it takes to get that quarterback. And now it looks like there's at least a possibility, and I would say a likelihood of Sorsby missing games or being deemed permanently ineligible. Now, NCAA deems ineligible, just find a judge somewhere around Lubbock to have a stay until roughly February. and then come back to this case and let's see if Sorsby has any eligibility left with the gambling issues that he's facing. But it's going to be hard for him to claim that wasn't me while entering into a rehabilitation center. Now, what could be the case, and I hate the cynicism that comes with this, but, you know, there is some with it. We acknowledge and talk about, you know, mental health issues that people have, and addictions are an incredibly tough thing to get by. And I think gambling addiction is an incredibly tough thing because most other addictions, you kind of know that, okay, this is going to get me through, but on the other side, I'm aware that it's not the best thing to do, and I'm aware on the other side I may be worse off. The gambling addiction, every time you place the bet, the other side is, I'm going to be good. Now I'll be back to even. Now I'm going to be fine, and I can then stop if I win this one or that one. And you get deeper and deeper, and it goes to, no, the addiction is the other side. You're actually better for it. So if I keep doing this, I will be better off for it. It's a tough thing to kick, any addiction. But the cynicism comes in with, you're going to have to fight the NCAA to even have eligibility if you enter into a gambling rehabilitation center. There is at least an opportunity to show the NCAA that 2022 to now is a very serious motivation for you to seek help and kick the addiction, and it wasn't just randomly playing some games. It was something that you tried to fight, but you couldn't beat it on your own, clearly, and now you are going in the route of seeking help. Therefore, NCAA, would you offer a little more grace than you would with somebody that was just willy-nilly gambling and who cares, didn't really care about the rules without the addiction that's there? There's the cynicism. I don't know what to hope for. I hope that it's not cynical, but if that's the case, then he has an addiction that he really has to kick. If it is a cynicism, then he's gambled on some things, doesn't have an addiction, but needs a way to, or an avenue to fight for eligibility.
Yeah, $5 million reasons why.
That's, yeah. I mean, if he's not eligible, I don't know. Some of these NIL contracts, is that null and void if he's deemed ineligible for
I have to imagine so.
Breaking NCAA rules?
You'd have to imagine.
It'd be pretty tough to get the full contract, get the $5 million in NIL if you don't play a game because you were deemed ineligible by something that happened before you got there.
Yeah.
By something you were aware that you weren't allowed to do before you got there. I think some lawyers can figure out how to break that $5 million contract and not have to pay. He's also a guy that sued Cincinnati for the $1 million to get out of all of that stuff to them. So I know we're going to play some Ryan Nutt stuff. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll do that on the other side of the break. We got a number of clips to play. Him talking about as a VP of player personnel for the Chiefs, had a Zoom press conference today in an overall post-draft look at the Chiefs. We'll play some clips and what we heard from him talking about the 7 players the Chiefs brought in. Rookie minicamp coming up this weekend. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Let's hear from Ryan Nutt, VP of Player Personnel. He started off with the breakdown, and this is one of the things we've talked about that we liked the most about the draft is the ability to rush the passer or bringing in guys that have the ability to rush the passer. They couldn't get sacks last year or enough pressures that resulted in sacks without blitzing. They couldn't get guys to win one-on-one matchups when Chris Jones was getting double-teamed. So they got Peter Woods. They got R. Mason Thomas. Ryan Nutt was asked about and broke down the Chiefs' pass rushing draft picks.
So that was obviously an area where we knew we had to improve. We kind of got stuck on the field there this past year on third down. So when the opportunity presented itself with those guys, becoming the best players on the board at the time, we jumped on it, right? So for Peter, he's explosive off the ball. And, you guys bring up the arm length, him or Mason. When you're explosive off the ball and you can reduce the space between you and an interior offensive lineman or a tackle, it gives you an advantage now. Both play low. They have really good pad leverage. They're really fast off the ball, and they're explosive. So primarily they're speed rush guys, but they have sneaky power where they can keep a tackle or guard or center off balance that allows them to win quickly. So we felt like both were extremely disruptive and both had high motors, and both of those kind of features in a player result to just being disruptive at the NFL level.
It's a good point about the arm length, because that was one of the things that people noted after the draft. Were like, is this the shortest arm draft in NFL history? It
has to be.
Like, the combination of their arm lengths equal like Chris Jones. If you take every one of their arms and just stack them consecutively, it equals one Chris Jones arm. It's crazy how that happens.
I wonder, too, if there's a different way did they start measuring them a different way? Like, did they like, hey, this year we're actually going to measure them from...
let's measure from the neck.
Yeah.
Right to the neck all the way down. That's great. Or let's measure these guys are measured from the elbow. Here's it's crazy how short his arms are. But it's a good point on the explosiveness mitigates the arm length by your ability to eliminate space with quickness. Okay, you don't have as long of arms, but you're explosive and quick that the guard/tackle is not able to get the arm out to control you. And if you have some power and some good hand fighting ability and some pass rush moves that can chop and get the hands off you, well, then your arm length isn't as big of a deal. Wingspans are okay with both of them, and that's what we talked about, like with Ruben Bain. It's like his arm length, it's so short, but his wingspan isn't all that different from some of the other edge rushers' measurables in this. Like, he had, I think it was David Bailey. Was he like 2.5 inches in a wingspan shorter than David Bailey? It's like, okay, well, that's then what, 1.25 total inches on each side? So it's not like, wow, his arms are 3 inches shorter on each side. Well, that would be 6 inches shorter. So, I mean, you're talking about different ways of measuring it. But I like the point about, well, the explosiveness and the quickness, we weren't focusing as much on arm length because that can mitigate your shortcomings in arm length. Also, if Peter Woods had 38-inch arms, then he's probably not going 29th.
Yeah.
If R. Thomas Mason had that long of arms, he's probably not going 40th. Just as if Rashee Rice had a 4.25 40, he ain't lasting into the second round when they drafted him. You know, when he got caught from behind by the Cincinnati Bengals, and it was like, oh, man, he had a 10-yard head start and got caught from behind. Yeah, because if he didn't get caught from behind, he wouldn't have been there in the second round for the Chiefs to draft him.
The quickness and the stamina specifically make up for the lack of inches.
Nick Jacobs asked Ryan Nutt what effect NIL is having on the draft, considering the low number of non-power conference players that were picked.
It's not a bad thing that they're staying in college, right? It gives them more time to develop, more time to mature. But what we see is maybe they come out of college with more injuries or just more wear and tear, more load. What's happening is, some of these players are making business decisions. They're deciding that staying in college for one more year is better than going to the NFL and possibly having a low draft stock. Now, they do all their homework And the schools do a really good job of reaching out and giving these kids an idea of where they're going to go. So they take all that information into consideration, and off of that, we don't care what they do. You know, none of us pressure any of these players to leave or stay. It's what's in their best interest, and some of those guys, it is in their best interest to stay, and some of them maybe they should have left. But either way, you know, when you're getting paid that kind of money, I can see where it's tough for these kids to make those decisions.
And then from a scouting perspective, do you kind of go back and kind of audit maybe your reports and everything that 3 years, 4 years down the road, this is where I hit on what I saw in this guy. This is what may be different, and kind of help yourself and others kind of improve in the growth of scouting?
Absolutely. That's how you learn in this league. It's through failure, unfortunately. And also having peers that are going to let you know that you were off. We all do that. It's fun. There's good banter with it. But for me, just personally, I learn best when if I put a grade on a player and I was high or I was low, and I was off, like I take that in consideration. I've had that in the past where some of these premier positions, you grade them probably lower than you should based on the value that they're going to get because of the position, and they're tough to get. So you kind of use that, you kind of keep that in the back of your head. But absolutely, there's always it's a constant learning process, and that's why this profession is so fun, because it always keeps you humble. Because as soon as you think you got it, and you're a great evaluator, and you're going to hit on all these guys, you're going to miss one, and it's going to keep you humbled, and it's going to keep you always just striving to be better.
Hopefully there's less humility after this draft, and it's a lot of cockiness heading into next year's draft, because, yeah, guys, we've got it figured out. We figured out the formula, because look at all 7 players we got in the draft. Killed it. Hopefully that's the case, but does not then go to their head that they can find humility before next year's draft is what I'm saying. They continued with the press conference. Jesse Newell asked why they liked Mansour Delane so much to move up and get him.
Yeah, so we felt Mansour was the best cornerback in this class. What he possesses is not only all the athletic traits we look for in terms of his feet, his speed, the bend, the transition skills. It's his extreme versatility. And when I say that, I don't mean just he can play inside and outside. I mean he can play off man, press man, zone, all those abilities to a very good ability. He's somebody that when you get an injury or something happens with maybe another player, you can move him around, and it just makes it easier on a defensive coordinator and on a scheme when you have one player that can just move around and play multiple roles. Now listen, he's an elite outside corner, and that's probably where he's going to start, but like Trent was an elite nickel. We think this kid could do the same if he was put in that position.
And I wanted to ask you, you talked about working with Brett Veach and the scouting department. Obviously you guys gave up additional resources to go up and get Mansour, but what does it do for the building when there's such alignment on a player, and then you guys decide to move up and go get that player? What does that do for, I guess, a culture when you guys feel convicted about a player and you go up and get him?
Yeah. So that starts with Clark Hunt, right? First, in order to trade up and to give up draft capital, Brett has to get the blessing of the owner. So the first thing it does is the building. It shows you have an owner that's invested in winning, that's willing to allow that to happen, to give up, possibly cheaper contracts down the road for us to get a player that we want. Everybody loved the player. Everyone knew the potential we had in the player, and just Brett's aggressiveness and willingness to go up and get him. It just speaks to Brett's, just his ability to go up, and we respect and love that he goes and gets the guy he wants. He's not going to sit in a draft and be a passive participant. He's going to go and get the guys that we as a staff like. And for us, I think that fires us up because, it allows you to kind of stand on the table more for guys because Brett might go up and get him.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, not a bystander of the draft, but if you are convicted about a certain player, you feel more like I can offer my opinion here and it will be heard, and it may be somebody that they go up and get, which also, I mean, it could lead one way or another. Brett Veach, as the story goes, had a very strong conviction about Patrick Mahomes. They go up and get Patrick Mahomes. That proved to be worthy, and maybe a big reason why they ultimately trusted him enough with some of the other scouting part of it to make him the GM. Now, if you are pounding the table and very convicted on a certain player, and that guy sucks, then it's the other side of it. Then it's like, well, you know what? Next time you have a seat. you don't. No, you don't. It's like Isaac Collins. You don't get to challenge anymore. You've lost your right to challenge balls and strikes. Carter's moving in that direction. All right, he's only 3 of 10 on the season. So Collins, you can't challenge balls and strikes anymore on the ABS system. You scout that was pounding the table for this particular player, Breland Speaks, you don't get to talk anymore. Okay, you gotta take it back. You're in the back of the line now. Okay, you're in the back of the line. But I really love Nick Benito. Shut up. You liked Breland Speaks too. Told you. Well, you win some, you lose some, brother. So that's a blessing of Clark Hunt first if you want to go up and get somebody. But the alignment in that, everybody is sort of on the same page with Mansour Delane to go and grab him. Pete Sweeney then asked Ryan to break down. They just taste Ryan. I can't say Ryan without
I
thinking
know,
of
I
Ryan.
heard that. It was
If
great.
I say Ryan, I'm going to say Ryan. Pete Sweeney asked Ryan to break down how the club feels about the class after the weekend.
Yeah, so I think the focus from a lot of people is, hey, they want defense or first 4 picks. Outside of the corner being the first pick, Brett just let the board fall as it was. So it wasn't this huge philosophy of, hey, we're going to go into this draft and just get a bunch of defensive players. It just happened that those are the best players on our board, and they did address needs that we had. So, it was kind of a perfect marriage, in some, so to speak, that those guys that fell back or that were still left were guys that we coveted, and it was a position in need.
And then just to follow up on Jesse's questions about Delane, I guess specifically with the McDuffie trade, how much did you feel like moving on from Trent really emphasized and emboldened you guys to go and make such a move to go get a potential replacement in Delane?
Yeah, losing Trent was tough. He was a guy we drafted in the first round. We loved him. He's an awesome kid, and he's a really good player. It left a void, but we have Christian Fulton on the roster, and we drafted Noel Williams last year, so we weren't depleted there. We just felt like it was more about the talent of the kid than maybe the position. I mean, a corner is a position that we could add a depth, but we felt this was a top, like Brett said, a top 6 talent to go and get. And when you're picking up where we were, hopefully we never pick here this high again. But in that opportunity, let's just go get a guy that we think could potentially be a Pro Bowl player.
Yeah, so a little bit of, you hear there that, well, it wasn't that we went in the draft saying cornerback is so awful that we got to have cornerback here, more than we've got our top 5 players on the board, Mendoza and Love, we are not going to be drafting. So that means there are 3 players there, we're at pick number 9, that we feel like are true difference makers, Bailey, Reese, and Mansour Delane. All right, let's not mess around. Let's just go and we should never have another opportunity to draft a blue chip prospect like this again. In the best corner in the draft, that could be a Pro Bowler, hopefully maybe in consideration as an All-Pro. Let's just go get it done. And then the question about the first 4 picks being defense, saying that, he said a lot of people viewed that and said, you guys were going defense, but he said Brett let the board fall where it did. Defense happened to be the best players that were left on our board, guys that were left and fell. We coveted and was also a need. I could also point out that maybe their board was filled with defensive players.
Yeah.
So it's like it just happened to be defensive players. Now the next 15 players at pick 40 were defensive players. The next 15 players at pick 29 were defensive players. And it just so happened that defensive players were there. Well, yeah, if you guys are very much emphasizing certain defensive players that happen to quote unquote match up with what your needs are at that defensive spot, odds are that there's going to be somebody at the top of your board that's left for that particular spot. But who knows? Maybe if Casey Concepcion was there at 40, they'd be like, we're not going to take R. Mason Thomas. Concepcion is like, 10 spots ahead of the next closest guy. We're taking this wide receiver here. But that wasn't going to be the case. Or maybe he was available at 29. Maybe they don't take Peter Woods. And they're like, well, we'll get Woods or R. Mason Thomas at pick 40 or Parker or whoever else that might have been in consideration there. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. In consideration for the next hour is going to be Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 sports director. We'll hang out with him. We get Learn Funniest Best and a few more clips from Ryan Nutt, the VP of Player Personnel. More Zone next.
Twitter thinks he's funny.
Shame on you nerds.
His wife and kids think he's lame.
No!
We couldn't get Paul, so we're stuck with Mick.
Yep. Okay, still got it going on.
Mick Schaefer on the Zone with Jason Anderson.
Hold your ears, folks. It's showtime.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy, Mick Schaefer hanging out with us, presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. We get some Learn Funniest Best coming up in the next segment. Hello, Mick. How are you?
Boys, how are you?
You know, I'm good.
Sterling hasn't said a word. I've been in here for like 2 minutes. You've just been typing away.
I know.
What's up, Bubba?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's learning that don't just grab and hug and kiss people randomly or touch their legs for
That
no reason.
restraining order, I mean, paid off.
Finally. I did have a very jolting morning when we hear the sirens going off at 5 o'clock in the morning. Got to go grab the kids and head down to the basement and everything.
Sirens, but I heard the hail, man. It's like
The hail
golf
was
balls hitting you.
pretty rough, and the flooding was the worst, man. I feel bad for those that have to deal with all of that stuff constantly. And they also had, 11 water rescues, I think, at one point this morning.
Wow.
The KC Fire Department police.
Wow.
I mean, that thing came down so fast. It was scary.
It's usually an active weather pattern in April. I feel like it's been ramped up a bit this April.
I've never had to worry about switching the cars around to put my car in the garage as much as we have this April for the hail.
Because you have a nicer car than your wife?
That
makes sense.
Yeah, we don't want to get the hail
yeah.
damage. She's getting a new car soon, so we don't want to have the hail damage on my car, which is
You never want
newer.
your wife to have hail damage.
No, and she's totally fine with it. She's like, if there's going to be some dents in a car, it'll be mine. Yours is nice. It's very nice of her to do that. But I've never had to worry about, all right, I got to do this, switch the cars around because of hail, as much as like I don't know that we've done that 2 times in the last
Did you get out
3
of bed
years.
and switch the cars around in like 5?
No, I didn't get out there soon enough.
Made her do it.
We were down in the basement, and they were like, well, the hail's about to start heading your way. And I'm like, so I go upstairs to switch the cars, and then that's when it just opened up. And I'm like, I see waves of the rain. It's coming up. Like, I think I'm just going to risk it. Plus, the wind was hitting the back of our house, which was actually blocking the hail from hitting the car. So the way the wind was coming in, it was coming from the back of the house to the front.
Yeah.
So it was blocking the hail from it. So I'm like, oh, we're good.
You forgot the 5 Ps. Prior planning prevents poor performance. You should have done it before you went to bed.
I didn't realize it was going to be that much weather. So
We missed all that. Yeah, I just had a normal morning.
How about Tonganoxie? Remember that night when it was supposed to be ridiculous and you guys all gave me a hard time?
Yeah, what happened?
Tonganoxie happened.
Are you sure? What does that mean? What does that mean?
Split happened, baby.
No, it didn't.
Yes, it did.
Did Tonganoxie
Prove it didn't.
Did Tonganoxie
Prove it did.
rain last night?
I can.
Then
Because it didn't
prove it
happen.
right now.
Because it didn't happen. Remember that was 2 weeks ago?
So
When
you're
it was the
proving it
storm
did
of the
happen
century?
by saying it didn't happen?
The storm, yeah. Storm of the century is going to happen. What happened? Tonganoxie said, not on
Did
my
they
watch.
say it was Storm of the Century?
It pulled like a LeBron in Miami where it's like, I'm going
Did
to
they
wear
call
the
it?
mask. It was Dirk Nowitzki. That's the Dirk Nowitzki.
Did they call it the Storm of the
Hey,
Century,
you're
though?
talking to yourself right now.
Yeah,
I don't
think
care.
so, too.
Tonganoxie did its thing.
I think you're Talkanoxie right now.
So you're not going to prove it.
Talkanoxie
Try
out
to
your
prove
ass.
it.
I proved it by it not happening.
Prove that it didn't happen then.
He's proving
Because
a negative.
Tonganoxie did it.
Can't prove a negative. Can't do it.
God, you're like a 6-year-old.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Who believes in Tonganoxie?
Well, I believe in the city. I believe in the people. Yeah, great people.
Tonganoxie strong.
I just don't believe
The
in
split
the
happened,
split.
baby.
It does not happen. What do you
Except
think
for-
happens? It like sees like the 2 buildings in town and it's like, oh,
So what is it gets startled.
So what do you say to
So
it?
the weather has human emotions is what you're saying.
Sometimes, yeah, it's like AI. I mean,
So what
with
do you-
AI and technology these days.
What do you say to the people that live in Tonganoxie that have said, "Hey, remember when this storm hit and that
Yeah.
tornado hit and that tornado?" Yeah, people that are
So
saying
nobody
that
ever
never
has to
actually
get new
lived-
roofs in Tonganoxie?
Well, no, there's hail, but I mean, like the big crazy stuff, it just splits.
Oh, the big crazy stuff.
Like the tornadoes and stuff. It splits.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because every single
I would
town
say
has
like
had a
99% of towns in America have not been hit by a tornado.
I would say that too.
But most don't do the split that Tonganoxie does. If you put that on a twister board,
Except for the history of that.
What do you say to all the meteorologists that say that's bunk? It's not a real
well, big
thing?
meteorology would like you to believe that.
Yeah, it's like arguing with the 6-year-old.
Yep.
Well, dude, big meteorology and big Farmer's Almanac wants you to believe in that.
And that's like all the meteorologists that are like, the Chiefs were clearly needing offensive line, and their draft sucked because they did not get offensive line help. And you're going, no, they didn't. And they're going, prove it.
Prove it.
Prove that they didn't need a. I'm telling you that everything
Because
I've
they
heard
didn't
from
do their
conspiracy theories, everything I've heard from the people that are not in the know, tell me they had to have an offensive lineman, and you're in the know and cover it, and you're telling me they don't? Prove it. I don't believe you. They had a bad draft because they didn't get an offensive line. That's the offensive tackle. That's the Tonganoxie split of football.
Well, no, because I know ball and I know Tonganoxie.
Okay,
And
great. Ryan Nutt knows ball. I think so. I'm going to go ahead and assume that he does, since he's the VP of Player Personnel.
I wonder if he's related to Houston and Dickie Nutt.
I hope so. I wonder if he was the one that they tased, Ryan.
Well, this is Ryan, not Ryan.
But that's Ryan, too. How do you know
really?
that guy's name was Ryan?
I think he just pronounced it that way.
I don't
pretty
know.
Sure.
All I heard
I don't
was-
think there's any guys in the South named R-Y-N-E.
Well, yeah, Ryan Sandberg.
big
Ryan
Cubs
Sandberg.
fans.
Not from the South.
Yeah. They just tased Ryan. I hear Ron.
I don't know where he's from, but he was the north side of Chicago for a long time, okay? I know that.
Yeah, you're right. He was born in Washington, Spokane,
yeah.
Washington.
There's
That's so north.
There's no guys in
Well, you know
Alabama
what?
named R-Y-N-E.
Somebody that would
You
pronounce...
get your ass kicked if you name your kid that, okay?
Hell no. Bleep no. I believe you get your ass kicked and name a kid like that. But somebody from the town that this person's from would pronounce Ryan. Matt Derrick asked about the thought process with drafting Garrett Nussmeier in the 7th round.
He was the odds-on favorite to be one of the top quarterbacks taken right this year. 2024, he finished his last 3 games with W's, and he ended up throwing for over 4,000 yards in 2024 with, I think it was 29 touchdowns. So there was a ton of buzz on him coming into this year. For whatever reason, he didn't have a great season. I do know he was battling through an oblique that people didn't know about, that was bothering him the whole year. And if you're a quarterback and you can't torque your hips and bring your hips through, the ball maybe doesn't come out with much velocity as you want. And they also, they fired the head coach and the offensive coordinator there in the middle of the year. But this is a game of results and not reasons, right? So I think I don't think it was the cyst. I don't think it had anything to do with the medical stuff because we were fine with it. I think it was maybe just the season. But we're excited to have this kid. He's going to be a developmental guy for us. We're excited about Justin Fields. Obviously, you brought him in, but this is something we haven't done and we've talked about for a while now. Is getting a quarterback late and developing him, and Garrett gives us that opportunity.
And are there any not necessarily second thoughts, but misses in this draft? Were there positions that you went into saying, hey, maybe you can hit offensive tackle or tight end or linebacker or another position, but just due to the trades and maneuvering, just maybe didn't get to?
Yeah, you look at our roster, we had a lot of places where we needed to bring in competition, and we're still going to do it. We're going to do it we did through free agency. We're going to do it again during cuts in September, and we'll continue to look for possible trades down the line here. There's other positions that we might need addressed on the line, but from how the board kind of unfolded, it would have been out of line, or it just wouldn't have been our philosophy to just pivot to another position when we had guys that were much higher than the positions of need. So
I hope that they don't go, all right, our Mason Thomas is here as an edge, but 20 spots down as a tight end, and we really need a tight end here. Obviously Emmett Johnson wouldn't be a good example because they traded up to get him, but maybe Cyrus Allen. Like, Cyrus Allen is the guy who's clearly number 1 on our board right now. But, there's this guard that we'd like to bring in competition at that spot, or tackle. We've got a 6th round grade on him. He's there. Should we go and do that instead of this guy who we have as a 4th or 5th round grade and we're taking here in the 5th round? I'd rather them stick to the best player they have on that spot. And the beautiful part of the best player this year is, beautiful or not, they had a number of needs that they had to address. So odds are the best player available in a lot of these different areas was going to be something that they had to address anyway in the draft. And they did that with a lot of their picks.
You can always say he was the best player available because they never make available their board, right? I think after it should be like your taxes. If you're running for president, right? You got to show it. Come on, just show it. We'll take your word for it. Just show that R. Mason was the top guy there.
He was actually the last guy on their board. They got it backwards. They went backwards up.
Damn it, Tim, we told you. Turn it right side up.
Back in the day when all you had was like the wooden arrows and the different that gets spun the other way, it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess Oregon is Southwest now. All right, let's. I thought that was the Santa part of it, but I guess we're going Southwest.
I'm cool with the Garrett Nussmeier pick. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think last year you try and chalk up to injury because he was going to be a top 10 guy if he would have gone out the year prior.
Mm-hmm.
You get him with Andy, who does a great job developing quarterbacks. You have Justin Fields, who's only going to be here for a year, so if you can get a long-term backup, and then do you try and flip him for draft capital later on if you want to, or is he going to be your long-term backup for the next 5-6 years. I mean, he has a lot of the tools. He's a little smaller, a little shorter than I think you'd like in a traditional quarterback, but overall, he's got a great arm, and you put him with Andy and Patrick in the same room. Why wouldn't you take a flyer in the 7th round on a guy who was, again, going to be a top 10 pick the year prior? That just seems smart.
Yeah, I mean, look, and you have a starting quarterback in his 30s who is coming off a major injury, and knock on wood, hopefully no more come around, but track record shows for guys getting older, more of those things happen, bumps and bruises. Maybe you're out a game or two, and so it makes sense to develop. I didn't know his dad was NFL quarterback.
Nussmeier?
He was an NFL quarterback, supposedly. I saw him on Zooms or something like that. But quarterback, man, what a fickle position. He was the number one guy in Todd McShay's way too early mock draft this time last year.
Wow.
He was number 3? Peter Woods. So the Chiefs really scored for
That's
Todd
right.
McShay back in 2025.
And the Chiefs, what they did was they actually built their board before the 25 season, and they just said, we're good.
Drew Aller was a first-rounder in that.
We don't need to mess with it now. We're good.
Yeah. And so many other guys. Lenora Sellers was supposed to go in the first round.
Cade Klubnik was one of the top quarterbacks that was going to go.
I mean, more power to it if you're trying to be a quarterback, because they just play one of those guys, right? Offensive line, we're going to play 5 of you every game. D-line, we're playing 9, okay? Quarterback, playing one of you a season, okay? And you might be the second best quarterback in the state, but if the first guy is in front of you, you're not seeing it. They didn't know going into Patrick Mahomes' junior year if he was going to be the quarterback or not in high school. And so the number one quarterback in the portal this year, North Texas guy Mestamaker, who went with his coach to Oklahoma State, didn't play quarterback in high school, played safety. He was the backup because another guy went. I think he went to Louisville to play baseball. But he was an all-state.
Patrick.
Yeah, Texas recruited Patrick to play safety.
And so he went to a camp, and on a flyer, North Texas offered him walk-on, and he turned into the best player in the portal.
So Texas recruited Johnny Manziel and Patrick Mahomes as quarterbacks, but to play safety.
Yes.
North Texas recruited a safety to play quarterback.
Yes.
They're like,
and it turned out
Texas.
And it turned out great. And all these guys, they're transferred everything. And, Brendan Sorsby, he bet on himself.
Yeah, he did.
Or did he?
And others, unfortunately,
he did.
He may have bet against himself.
That's the issue. I don't know. He didn't play in the games at Indiana, so
Over under, how many games do you think he plays this year?
0.
I think
He's
0.
done.
Yeah,
He's
I
done.
think 0.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be difficult for you to. He bet on Indiana.
I mean,
games while he
hopefully
was at
the
Indiana.
NCAA has some teeth left.
Some stones.
Yeah, I mean, listen. I mean, there's not. I mean, you could have made the argument 10 years ago when the guys just getting a scholarship, which is great, but doesn't have a great home life and all that stuff, and decides to make bets and whatever to make some money on the side. They're like, okay, it's against the rules. I understand it though. You're making $5 million.
Yes, dude.
You just don't do this one thing.
Yeah, you're making even at Cincinnati.
And I don't know, was it before?
Well, the
bets come before the $5 million, right?
The bets on games that he was not.
I didn't even know
playing-
he's at Indiana, by the way.
You
that was in
check yourself
2022.
into rehab for something you did 4 years ago.
Oh, it's performance art, I think, here. It is like mea
think so,
culpa to the
too.
NCAA saying, okay, look, I am trying to get over this addiction or whatever.
Because one of the reports was, and we don't have the specific numbers or anything, and a lot of these FBI investigations, there are numbers that attach to it of 10,000 here, or this was bet on that. This was being reported as it was more of the volume of bets at a smaller amount rather than less volume, but you're willing to bet it all on certain things, and it's like, wow, you're really hurting yourself or your family or future because you're betting all this money.
And he did it under his own name. And by the way, at Indiana, was he even 21? I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
He started
That was
there
in 2022, and he was on the team and he bet on Indiana to win, but it's still like an immediate ineligibility.
I mean, you have inside information, right?
Yeah.
So.
Speaking of insider information, Sren Petro, he asked Ryan Nutt about the selection of Emmett Johnson.
Yeah, it's funny about Emmett because in December we all come together and we watch usually defensive backs, and Brett will pick one or two other positions, and he picked running backs this year to kind of watch, and we went through the running backs, and Emmett was one of the top guys we watched. We loved them. Brett, Brett was super high on this kid. We all are really high on this kid. He's a juke button, right? He's got very good feet, vision, feel, and he's very good out of the backfield. I think the combine 40, I think he ran like a 4.56 or something. That might have scared people away, but then he ran a 4.49 on his pro day. So, and then he ran, I think, a 4.49, like a 4.50, something like that. So he showed on 2 reps that he can match the same speed. I don't know why he fell. We were shocked he fell, and that's why we took him, honestly, in the 5th round, and that's why Brett decided to trade up to get him, because of the conviction we had in the talent, and because we knew that was probably lower than he should have went. But we're happy to have the kid for sure.
And then what would you say are the positives about Cyrus Allen? Because first glance you'd be like, well, he's not the biggest. Again, he didn't run the fastest, but yet compared to like his teammate that is Jeff Caldwell is taller, is 6'5", and he even seemed to have the measurables. This kid doesn't have the measurables. What is it about him that made him someone you guys liked?
Yeah, so Cyrus was somebody that got to Cincinnati late. He dislocated his elbow while he was at Texas A&M, so he was rehabbing most of spring. And when I went in there, they just talked about the eagerness and the drive of this kid trying to get back on the field. Cyrus is he's talented, and he was just I don't know if under the radar. He went to the American Bowl, which was kind of a lesser all-star game, and he blew it out of the water. He showed foot speed, quickness, route run. He was routing dudes up left and right on the field, enough so to get him invited to the Senior Bowl. And then at the Senior Bowl, he does the same thing to these top comp corners. So right there, we knew, like, this kid is a competitor and he's talented. And hey, maybe we gotta take a second look at him. Maybe we're a little low on him initially, and then throughout the process, we just felt like he crushed it. He had a really good pro day. He showed he can return punts at the pro day. He had a really good Zoom. Coaches love his energy, his competitiveness. So hats off to the kid. Throughout this entire process, he's just checked every box in a good way and got and improved. And we're excited to have that kid as well.
It is fun watching the highlights of him at the bowl games and watching him, as Ryan Nutt said, routing up dudes left and right. Just term. The cornerback spinning or turning around or getting lost, and the yards and space and separation that he would have on some of the routes when he's getting the ball thrown to him. I'm like, I don't know the last time the Chiefs had a player that was just like, boy, this guy is an immaculate route runner. This guy is one of the best route runners, gains separation because of the small little adjustments that he makes, or footwork, or a little lean here, lean there, the art of route running.
Travis Kelce 3 years ago.
Right.
Sky Moore.
But I mean, but it's like, oh, this guy's fast. This guy can track the ball. This guy's big. This guy really understands the spacing in zone. This guy's like, oh, well, I need to run this route, and I just got you to spin your feet that way, and I'm actually still running the same route. I don't have to make a contested catch because I've got 3 yards of space and separation because of how I ran the route. That's exciting to watch. We'll see if it translates to the NFL with NFL cornerbacks that you're going up against, not, Shrine Bowl or Senior Bowl cornerbacks that are getting drafted, but, not Mansour Delane. Last one here from Ryan Nutt. Todd Lebo asked if anything stands out about their class of UDFAs that they are bringing in.
Todd, we usually don't speak on free agents because they're not quite signed yet. But I'll talk about it as a class. We're very excited. We think this is going to be one of the better free agent classes we've had. They're going to come in. They're going to push. It doesn't matter where you're drafted or how you come in the Chiefs organization. It's kind of like what you do to create value for yourself. And we feel like there's a lot of guys here that we're going to bring in that are going to create value and are going to push some of the guys we drafted or the guys we have on our team. So we're super excited about it. And I think rookie mini, you're going to come in and you're going to see it. And I think you guys will be excited as well.
We'll close things out here with Vahe. Go ahead, Vahe.
Hey, Ryan, thanks for doing this. As you guys go into this, obviously you're reading your board and you understand your needs better than anybody would. Do you picture actually what the selections will look like as a whole? And how much does this match what you might have thought it would be? Does that make sense? Just how would you anticipate the draft to look afterwards versus how it does play out?
Are you talking about slotting picks before the draft?
Just in a broad sense of whether you are thinking, like, the day before the draft, did you think it would be these positions, and play out this way, or did you not really have a vision of it because you have to read the board?
This was a weird year. This was a weird draft because we felt like once we made the trade, we didn't have a third round pick. And we felt like the draft kind of slid a little bit after the third round in terms of the entire talent pool, not the guys we got, but like some of the talent pool. So kind of all bets were off. In the second round, there was a lot of surprising bets. So we didn't know what to expect, to be honest with you. I can't sit here and think everything was going to fall off. The first 2 rounds, a lot of the players kind of came off, but there were some surprise picks too. Do we think we're going to get Robert Woods at 29? I don't think so. Do we think we're going to get Emmett Johnson in the 5th round? I don't think so. Jaden Kennedy maybe in the 4th, where we picked him, probably not. Yeah, there were some surprises, but just like any other draft, you just have to adjust, right? And kind of just pick the best player, and that's what we did.
All right, so there you go.
Robert Woods. Didn't know Robert Woods was a Chief.
Well, wide receiver for the Rams and Bears and stuff like that. I didn't think that they would select Robert Woods at 29.
Yeah, it was wild to me.
That would be the biggest surprise move.
Yes. What if they get here from minicamp and it's like, where's Peter Woods? Gotcha.
Crap.
The whole time it's me, Robert Woods. I'm very excited to start my career over.
Giving you 6 sacks too.
I'm surprised that
James Woods.
I'm surprised at pick 29 you took a 33-year-old, but you did. Well, Mesidor got drafted. He's 25. Sort of the same thing. I mean, come on, man. All right, so there you go. Obviously, Peter Woods, and then Emmett Johnson, and he said Kennedy, to name a few of the guys that were probably didn't think that they would be there when they drafted him.
And another wrinkle, and I think Nick was getting at this with his question, but Ryan didn't go that direction. The 257 picks, right? 231 of them were from Power 4 schools.
Wow.
So it's almost like, I wonder, is pay for play in the portal in some ways making NFL jobs, GMs and their scouting departments jobs easier? Because it's a smaller pool of schools to look at now. It's basically your 67 Power 4 schools. Because if you're a really good FCS player, 2 years ago you're transferring to the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a D2 guy that just takes off, well, guess what? You're in the Big 12. You're going to play a year or two there. To where, there's less of a need now to go mine the Southland Conference with a couple of your guys for a week or two. Or go to Montana State. Because, they're five, Power 4 guys or guys that could play in the NFL. They're playing in the Big Ten and the SEC already. They've already transferred. So I wonder if that's, and I know they're getting these guys later now, but I wonder in another direction if it's making the job a little bit easier. Less places to go, less places to mine for these players. Because 231, I mean, there were only 15 group of 6 players. There used to be 10 every round, 8 or 10 every round. I mean, from the MAC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Michigan schools, all the Ohio schools, great football was and is played there, but more and more, if you're a good player at Ball State, you're going to end up at Texas A&M, like Cassius Howell.
Yeah. Or you go to A&M to Cincinnati, like Cyrus Allen.
Yep.
Or you go to Lindenwood for 3 years and an FCS program, and then you end up at Cincinnati like Jeff Caldwell, who wasn't drafted, but was
He's from Caldwell.
No, he's from.
We don't have one NFL player.
Do you?
Yeah, his name was Al Schmidt back in the 50s or 60s. Yeah.
Is he like a plaque or like a statue or?
No, but he should.
Yeah. I mean,
what the Schmidt? You should have one.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of Schmidts, and there's probably a lot of Al Schmidts from town.
Yeah. Caldwell's actually from Louisville, so he's not from Caldwell, Kansas. So there you go. But yeah, it's a really interesting point about that many Power 4 players selected.
No D2 guys,
that's crazy.
7 FCS guys. Usually there's a few of those guys every round.
Right. That's crazy.
Especially late in the draft. I mean, the really good departments went and found. I mean, they went to the FCS playoffs. Well, no need to now. No need to go to the D2 playoffs now because Trinidad Chambliss transferred to Ole Miss 2 years ago.
Yes, and he got another year of eligibility because of a red shirt when he was actually hurt at Division II. Last one, I do wonder why Brett Veach chose running backs to watch this year. Ryan Nutt said that every year Brett picks out a position to really study and watch, and he said this year he picked out running backs. So we were watching them, and then we just fell in love with Emmett Johnson. that he called him a juke button. I have no idea why he fell that far. They're shocked. It's why we traded up to get him. But I do wonder, like, Brett Veach, why'd you pick running back this year to sort of study and look at when maybe because this was not a heavy running back class, and so it might have been more difficult to find the good ones, or, good God, our running backs are so bad, we're going to sign Kenneth Walker, and I'd also like to draft one, so let's find a running back that we feel like can fit with what we're looking for. No, they pick out a position every year. Why do you pick out running back this particular year to really study? But I think he said, like, cornerback or something like last year or whatever. So
Ren tweeted it out. The Chiefs were the quadrants of the guys who produced the most and the guys who had the biggest measurables and the least measurables and the less production. The Chiefs all were in the quadrant of the most production by college players, but less measurables, or the
athletic score or whatever.
The athletic score, exactly.
Yeah, because Delane's not the biggest cornerback.
But he was a star, first team all
Arm Mason Thomas has shorter arms.
But he was a stud producer. Nebraska kid produced.
Emmett Johnson.
So did Kennedy. I remember that interception he made.
But it's a good point because
Cyrus Allen had 14
touchdowns, right? Yeah, I love that Big 12, so yeah.
Yeah, like Cyrus Allen, the size-speed combination doesn't match up like Jeff Caldwell. Or Mason Thomas, he has shorter arms, which adds to the whole like athletic score, his arms and size and
but he wrecked the SEC.
Right. Emmett Johnson doesn't have the top end speed of breakaway. Like, okay, well that knocks down his athleticism. It's an interesting point that, all of those different guys. Then you got Peter Woods that's just like, hey, here I am.
Well, also,
jumping over
he was
dudes.
the opposite. He was he was like, I am an athletic freak.
I'm jumping over guys.
Who made one tackle last year?
Garrett Nussmeier, by the way, was a finalist for the Manning Award in 24.
Yeah.
Even though, and he's almost 6'2", so he's not like the biggest guy at quarterback either. So it's like, that's also I'd consider production as a quarterback. So it's very true.
Hopefully he's got 2 healthy obliques this year, and maybe that was the big issue, is that the oblique was a problem. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. We'll get our Learn Funniest Best from the weekend coming up on the other side of the break. More Zone hanging out with Mick Schaefer, presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk. He's a KSHB 41 sports director. It's the Zone on a Monday. All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes. Michael Darcy. Nick Schaefer, presented by Advent Health Sports Park at Blue Hawk, KSHP 41 Sports Director. Are you guys ready for Learned and Funniest and Best from the weekend?
Always.
You guys ready, Sterling? You
Not
ready
always,
for
but today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Learned
it's
and
fun,
Funniest and Best? You could have 2 weeks of Learned and Funniest Best if you want to, because you had no Learned Funniest Best last week, Sterling.
That's sad.
So, I mean, you could have last weekend's
I'll
too.
do a couple of
No,
those.
it's fine.
You missed out when that was when we were at the National.
Yes,
right?
we're at the National.
We all got
Yeah.
those quarter zips.
Oh my
Does he
God, the
know
quarter
about
zip.
this?
No, he doesn't quarter zip.
What?
Yeah, we
okay.
got the KC Blues rugby quarter zips. Oh, they're so
Pretty
nice, dude.
sweet.
They are so nice,
No,
man.
even if they were crappy, I would be saying the same thing right now, but they're not. They
But they're
are
not,
pretty
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah,
Just
sometimes
to make
we
you feel
didn't-
bad.
you didn't get-
should legitimately feel bad.
You didn't get me one?
Well, I had to try on a few, so
Oh
I
my
felt bad if I had
God.
to
Oh
grab
yeah, he
another
made him
one.
refold it and put like the the thin paper
Like the
back
thin
in.
paper, you
Yes.
son of a-
Well, I
A
usually
large. He puts a large on and it's fine.
it wasn't. I
It
mean, it was a
wasn't big
little,
enough.
It
He
was a little
likes some
snug.
baggy. It was not.
It was a
snug.
little snug.
He puts the extra large on, and it looks the exact same. He's like, oh yeah, this is it.
But the arm length of the large stopped like right here to watch.
Can I play audio of you trying it on?
Yeah.
Why
I did
not?
play by play.
thing?
Can
I
you?
did play by play.
Can you? Of course you can.
You're in charge of this show, Darcia.
Yeah.
Yes, they can.
I don't know.
This isn't big enough.
Should I go a little bit bigger?
It's going to be bigger than the last one because it's an extra large. All right, he's pulling it out of the bag. Well, now you've touched 2 of them. You're so much skinnier than me, but I guess I'm tighter. You can only see the top half of my nipples.
Yeah,
You cannot
can't see
see
the whole
all
thing.
the way down to the what's the brown part? What's that called?
Areola.
Areola? Yeah. You can't see. I want to see
Weird.
down to the brown part.
Yeah, right.
What happened?
I feel like there was some context missing, but I don't know. I don't remember the conversation that much. That
There's some
could have been
chunks taken out.
That could have been exactly how it happened.
Selective editing.
Could have been exactly how it happened. I'm not sure.
What the
Oh my
hell
goodness! I meant to
happened?
play this in the first segment. Can you play clip number 1 again, Mick?
Okay.
You and I. How about and this could be our best. It could be learned. Not funniest though. Go ahead and play this again, there, Michael.
If you have gelati, that is a better
Friday.
run stopper on
Who are they
first and
taking
second down.
on Friday night?
You need pass rushers, Zion and TJ Parker. Those guys are more run than rush the passer. Run stoppers, 3-down linemen.
I don't like this team, but this guy wrecked the SEC this year. R. Mason Thomas. Chiefs landed him. I think that could be a guy.
Yep. I said Howell or R. Mason Thomas, but I'm going to go with R. Mason Thomas.
Would be R. Mason Thomas if he came to
Howard,
KC,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sterling, for that one.
There's a story behind his name.
Yeah, it was
Republican
R in the
Mason
family,
Thomas.
and Richard,
She
Robert.
just like
like-
Mason so much. She's just
R.
naming
Mason.
putting him
but
R
I
in
have to
front
have an
of him.
R in front of it.
That's pretty funny. So nice job, Mick and me.
I feel like you
getting
piggybacked
that
me,
one-
but sure, yeah, you
getting
know,
that one
you
right.
would force
Getting
the
that one
bet
right.
on.
Yeah, there's no other story to go along with that. All right, so learn funniest best. What I learned from the weekend is that, oh my goodness, the Fitzpatrick family, Matt and Alex, have been on an absolute heater in the last 5 weeks. So March 15th, Matt Fitzpatrick finishes second at the Players. March 22nd, Matt wins the Valspar Championship. March 29th, Alex wins the Hero Indian Open, his first career European Tour win. March 31st, Matt and his wife, Catherine, announced they're expecting their first child. April 19th, Matt wins the RBC Heritage. And April 26th, yesterday, the Fitzpatrick brothers win the Zurich together, and
Nice.
Alex then gets his tour card because they won that one.
Yeah, it's awesome.
How about those brothers since March 15th to April 27th?
Pretty amazing.
That is an unbelievable 5 weeks
I
of
think
golf.
he hit that incredible bunker
The,
shot,
the other
too.
brother has gotten a lot better because the last like a year or so ago, I think they were on full swing, and they featured them playing together, and he was nowhere near as good as
Yep.
Matthew.
Now he's got a tour card. He made that
for
by
him.
winning the Zurich with his brother. He gets a tour card. That's kind of cool, though. You and your
Also,
brother too.
pressure for your brother to not
I know,
leave up.
right?
You're like, hey, you're the better one. Don't let me down.
Seriously, dude, I can get my tour card here. We can be tour bros. What'd you learn from the weekend, Sterling?
The sub 2 hour marathon barrier has been
Oh,
broken
dang it, yeah.
in London, but like in an actual marathon race, not in a. It had been broken once before in a like event set up like for a specific guy to do
Yeah.
it, but this was in an actual
They
marathon.
have downhill marathons. Maybe they did
This guy did it in.
do
I think it was Sebastian Sawe did it in Hour 59 in
Unreal.
30 seconds.
Unreal.
I wanted to do the math, and I'm glad I did the math myself, and then I
for you.
looked up someone else. I was like, can someone else
4
back me
minutes.
up? 4 minutes and 34 seconds a mile.
Per mile.
For 26.2 miles.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's good.
Dude,
He would win like not every state track meet, but a lot of state track meets 26 times in a row.
he's like keeps going like, all right, the next
Yes,
next
next wave,
next
here we
heat.
go.
That's insane. Like, how does your body do it? How does your heart do it? Man,
Yeah, we're maxing out, I think, human capabilities when it comes to running.
I'm going to go on record and say in my lifetime nobody's going to break a 3-minute mile. I just don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime.
You better die soon.
Damn, Mark, that's mean. Mick, what did you? Well, I know what I learned from the weekend is Mick's wanting people out of his life. But what did you learn from the weekend, Mick?
2 learns here.
Yeah.
The first is that Peter Woods was a 5-time letter winner in football in high school, which means he played as an 8th grader for his high school, which played 7A football, the highest level of football. Because we've seen, like Derrick Henry played a low level of football. Was amazing, though. And you've seen it a lot of times it's private schools or smaller schools where they'll play 8th graders. His school has 2,200 people in it.
What?
A huge high school.
Yeah.
Even in Alabama. And they brought him up as an 8th grader to play on the defensive line. What do they say in football? It's harder to play the closer you get to the football, right?
Yes.
The big guys on the offensive defensive line, just because you need sheer size and mass and all that stuff. Easier maybe if you're a speedy wideout or a corner that you can play earlier. But he played as an 8th grader on the defensive line at this gigantic high school, big old high school in Alabama.
That's crazy. That's good
for him.
You know what? And hey, now he's a chief.
He's a Redwood.
He has been a guy. I also learned at the Drake Relays they pole vault in a mall.
Is that how they get to
Independence
the
Mall?
They don't have like an escalator. That's how they get to the second level.
Well, so they have the balcony there, so
Yeah.
it's just lined, so people are up top, almost even with the bar.
So you don't actually have to land on a pad. You just clear the bar and you land on the
There's an
second
orange-
level.
There's an orange Julius there. Soft landing there.
It's just a guy named Julius that's wearing orange.
There's a
It's gotta
thing-
catch you.
You start at the things remembered, okay, and then you start running past the buckle.
Do you see the Spencer's Gifts, or you've gone too far? When
You've gone too far. That's the shot pit.
You get to
area.
once you get to Foot Locker,
Yes.
then you got to.
You actually land
pole.
on a whole bunch of Annie Ann's pretzels in case, because they're soft.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally
Very
true. That'd be awesome.
No, but they
actually. I'll
have
take
the
that.
whole runway, and they have the pit, and they have the mat, obviously, and the bar. They just have it in a mall at the Drake Relays. It's really cool.
It really messes up the timing when the guy tries to sell you the phone case on your way to go and plant that pole vault. That's tough. Michael, what'd you learn?
I learned that Trevor Bauer threw a 7-inning no-hitter for the Long Island Ducks. I don't really qualify it as a no-hitter, but they do, and it's their 3rd in team history. He threw a 7-inning no-hitter.
No,
Yeah, that's cool. I also saw a video of that same league where there was a 51-year-old man that made his professional debut. That got on the mound and threw a pitch, and I went, "Oh, that's the league that Trevor Bauer's threw."
Hey, I think it's 3. But by the way, I think it was like a sidearm knuckleball. I didn't know it was a knuckleball. At first, I thought it was a fastball, and I go, "Okay, that's alarming."
Yeah.
Apparently, it was a knuckleballer, which is kind of impressive.
53-year-old got his opportunity to do that. That's
Hey,
awesome.
Satchel Paige, baby.
That's right. I don't think he started at 53, though.
No, he did not.
Nope. All right, we go to the funniest from the weekend. Funniest, we start with you, Sterling.
New Jackass coming out. And
New what?
New what?
Jackass.
Okay, the movie. You said Jackhouse.
No,
There's a new Jackass that's there.
New Jackass.
What number are we up to now?
I don't know. This is called like the best and last. What do you mean, you'll pat? Are you too young for Jackass?
You said Jackhouse. He
He's
said, "I'll
probably
pass."
too old for it.
No, you said there's a new Jackhouse out. He said, "I'll pass."
Yeah, well, maybe we'll see. Yeah, I might swim through. I might swim through.
Go ahead.
The new Jackass is coming out in like June or something, and
That's the
I am
best.
excited to see because
I get
just
it.
even it brings back so much nostalgia and memories. The second you hear that twang of the guitar, the dear.
Yeah,
that's Deliverance, maybe.
That was
but
more
yeah.
Deliverance. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, Jackass!
I'm glad you've seen some movies.
I love Jack-
Granted,
that's what
the
I grew-
Jackass or the Jackhouse franchise. Which is something totally different.
Totally different franchise.
Same vein. lot of nudity, I would assume.
I guess. I don't know. So he's already seen the movie because that became his funniest that they're coming out with one. So that's cool.
Well, no, I'm just excited that the trailer maybe is the funniest.
That works.
Okay.
That works.
And
Funniest
Johnny
for you?
Knoxville was in it.
Yeah, gray hair.
With gray hair, yeah.
There you go. Funniest for you, Mick?
Did you see when is the tight end Oscar Delp was
one of mine.
drafted? So the whole family's there, people lining the couch, behind the couch, the normal scene. They get up. It's the best moment of their lives. It is also the best moment of their dog's life.
Oh my gosh, yes.
The big old what kind of dog was it?
know. It's a
maybe
big old
chocolate
dog.
lab, maybe something
It's
like
a
that.
big old
And he
dog.
looks up and he sees everybody jumping around, and he starts pacing. He starts looking for his opportunity.
Where can I get in here?
And they're hugging and they're celebrating. They're taking their videos, and all of a sudden,
Opening.
Delp's dad is at the edge of the couch, and he walks over to hug his son, and immediately the dog jumps up on the couch. Because dogs are great at displacement. They know exactly where to go when there's an open, and he jumps up there, and it's his own draft day. He's having the time. Great vision.
Running back, honestly.
Yeah,
And
he's
patient. Patient, too.
and he's just like Oscar Delp. He's a big old dog, and he can move a little bit. And so he got his spot on the couch, and then they started celebrating with the dog. It was a great.
Pacheco,
moment.
the dog, would have ran right into a leg and then almost got on the couch and then jumped up and was like, "What's up now?"
That was the Kareem Hunt 4th and 1. It's 4th and 1 right there. He only needed to go, less than a yard.
That's right.
He picked it up though.
Yeah,
That's right. They got that dog off the couch, and he was just like Kareem Hunt. They were able to go and put them in. That was one of my funniest too. That's great. Funniest for you from the weekend, Michael?
Did you guys see Caleb Lomu dance after he got drafted by the Patriots?
Oh, I did not.
Oh, yeah,
I saw Emmett Johnson's.
The video they played of him. Oh man.
Of just him spinning around in a circle with his hands in the air, kind of shaking his booty a little bit. It was kind of caught me by surprise.
It almost looked like a sorority girl at a fraternity party. Like when you get they see elevation and they see a table and you got to get up on some elevation for some reason.
Guys don't dance for that. That's kind of like
Typically
when they stand
not.
there and kind of like maybe throw the football in their hand or
They do like
just
the
flex
point.
or point. He's just dancing.
I like it. Good for him, man.
I saw that 45 times this week.
Yeah, it was.
I have not seen the video. I need to check it out. I will go and find that one. Since you had the Oscar Delp, that was my one, but I have a backup one too. Shout out Price Carter, who we have on the show. Did you see his tweet about Emmett Johnson?
Oh yeah.
So Emmett Johnson is going from discount Mahomes to real Mahomes. He shows a picture of Raiola, then a picture of somebody pressing upgrade, and then a picture of Patrick Mahomes.
That's pretty funny.
It's pretty legit. So nice job, Price.
I think even better. I think he has to actually do something dumb because he said they're not going to draft him. If the Chiefs draft Emmett Johnson, I'll eat 10 ears of corn live on the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
Oh, yes.
Who said that?
Price Carter. So he's got a.
Well, he's a big Nebraska fan. He's been lobbying for them to get.
That was in December of last year.
Right, I just think he was trying to will it
to
like
happen.
Reverse theory,
Corn's
opposite
pretty
theory.
good. Now 10 years is
He's
a
got to
lot.
eat 10 ears of corn. I hope he's got to shuck it too.
In one
That's a lot of
sitting?
corn. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a lot of corn.
Better than a hat, though. I'd rather have 10 corns.
I also did not
one
judge
hat.
him. I didn't judge him for running through the streets naked when they drafted Emmett Johnson. I was like, you know what? Let him be. Let him be. Leave him alone. He'll get back to his house and
Chiefs
watch the
got
rest of the
two-
draft.
They got two Emmett running backs now.
Yeah.
They got Emmett Smith's son, UDFA.
How about that? Where are we at?
Best,
Mick. Best from the weekend.
The best for me, this was almost word for word. Last night, Sunday Sound Off, we had young Curtis on.
Yep.
We had Blair, and we had Pete, and we were getting ready to record. But the Royals game that started at 3 was still ending at the time that it would have when it started at 6. It was great theme this year with Royals games. And so they're down to their last out in the 9th inning. And so I send my highlights off. It's 8-5.
Yeah.
And
right,
I
right.
put the score
Easy.
in. And we're just laughing. And Curtis said, like, watch them score a run here. I'm like, oh, God, they're going to score a run, right? Probably like a pitching change just to tick me off, right? And then they'll like hit a blast and tie it up. But then Ursig will give up a run in the 10th. I left it there. All of it happened.
Oh my God!
I did not come through with the Lane Thomas.
How did you not go Lane Thomas
Just
walk-off?
not. I can't quite see it all yet, and I did not know Lane Thomas 3-run walk-off.
That's maybe the most obvious of the things to happen. You know
Once
the
got
hard
those
part
first
should have
5 steps.
should have been a big fan of his the whole year.
Yes, he just right through the lane, the alley right there. Best for you from the weekend, Michael?
I rode the Duquesne Incline in Pittsburgh. It kind of gives you
Yeah,
a
so
giant...
did Matt and McKenzie, the
It's
funicular.
Awesome. What?
It's called a funicular.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, that's a learned.
But they put the fun in funicular.
I thought I had to dump that word.
Super cool look of the city, and was wearing the 810 polo.
Oh, nice.
And kind of talking to some people, and there was a Buffalo Bills fan on said incline.
Yep.
And once I said the words Kansas City, I could visibly see him get angry.
Why did he jump?
You visibly saw him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on 2 eyes.
Did you get all the way right to the almost destination and he decided just to exit?
Jump off of it? No.
It's like, you know what? I'm not going to make it to the
13
final.
seconds. He had 13 seconds left
Oh,
and
you should have
couldn't.
said we should be there in 13 seconds. You're a Bills fan? That would have been great.
We got him wide right.
My best was from Friday night and then from over the weekend. Little man playing in the Invitational, which was cool, with teams from Nebraska and Arkansas and Colorado. And on Friday night, he pitched his second complete game. Little man did against this Arkansas team with, I think there were 15-year-olds on the team. One kid actually drove his family there for this 10U tournament. But complete game, not Little League complete game, not 9 innings.
So Trevor Bauer, complete game.
That's right. 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 1 earned run, 6 hits in 6 innings, 70 pitches to get through.
Scattered
it as well.
those hits.
You darn
Efficient.
right. Yes, change up, fastball is all he's using and keeping him off balance. It was great. And then shout out to one of our players named Lucas Nunez, Luca. We're now calling him Lucas Acuna, because on Friday night he is running back to his right. This dude smokes this baseball. He catches it, runs into the fence, turns around, throws a dart to second base for a double play. Next day we're playing the same team, same kid, hits it to right field. He goes back, and it's a legit robbing of a home run. He hits the fence. His arm is over the fence, and he catches it and brings it back. And it was the same kid from the night before, so now we're calling him Lacuna.
Yeah.
Lucas Acuna Jr. So shout out to that. We were going to send that into the SC Top 10. Legit robbing of a home run. Sterling, best?
Yeah, I had some folks over on Saturday. You only turned 23 twice, so
true.
it was nice having a little birthday party at my
Good for
house.
you.
The weather held off, beautiful, able to hang outside all day.
Happy birthday to you and the people that were there.
On Saturday. Yeah.
Oh, well, happy birthday,
You're
man.
32?
Yeah, 23. Second time turning 23.
For you,
You're
twins.
46?
Twinsies with you and Michael.
And twins.
I wrap up the show here, handing it off to the program with Soren Petro. I really like the Chiefs draft, and I know that it's immediate. I like the prospects of the Chiefs draft. Who knows what it's going to look like, in 2 or 3 years? But I feel like, Mick, the strategy was defense replenish, offense just simply offseason recalibrate. What you need to do. So they're like, I feel like personnel's good once you got Kenneth Walker, a running back, the wide receivers didn't need help at offensive line. Mahomes is going to be fine. Need to restructure the scheme and hand off a little bit more. Defense, we need players.
Yeah.
We need players on defense.
Sorry, Patrick, we're not taking any offensive players the first 2 days, and on the third day, we'll take some offensive players. One will be a quarterback.
At least it wasn't the Rams' first round.
I know, right? That'd be a story.
What if they traded up to take Ty Simpson? That would be dumb.
I'm whelmed by the draft. I'm whelmed by it. I think DN they took as late as possible, but I think that the best option for as late as they went.
I called it in the aggregate. You got Ashton Gelati that can play the first couple of downs against the run, and you bring in our Mason Thomas to rush the passer. You got a 3-down defensive end. Do it.